So it's 22 for you, Sky?
Yes.
That's interesting.
How much is it for you?
18.
Yeah, I'm right, Tiger. It's 22 right now.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Yeah, currently it's 23:40.
Oh, Jesus. My, yeah, I was looking at my system clock.
Is it not right?
System clock's off, no.
Yeah,
That's
all my
interesting.
clocks say 7:40.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4:40.
I just looked at my phone and it's correct, so that's bizarre.
7:40 P1, 7:41 here.
So thanks for turning out. This is one of the first in recent memory of a U.S. time zone blue phase. So should cater to a lot of you folks that prefer this type of time zone stuff. For now, I'll have you guys all form up at the shipping consoles. And let me know if anybody has trouble getting into the server.
So is it the entities count that I'm looking at to decide if
Yeah.
it's a 13K?
Yeah.
Okay.
BW in as well.
The entities.
Oh wait,
is normally
30k. Sorry, 13k. Yes.
13K.
Apologies.
So if the entities are stuck at 13,198, then you're at 13K. If it's not got past that for about a minute-ish.
Okay.
Probably one of the most annoying bugs of this patch.
Yeah, but at least we learned how to detect it. It's a workaround, but at least we can detect it now.
Looks like I'm in a 13k.
Landing on the other side of them. Perfect.
How do you pull up the info panel again?
Tilde key,
Tilde.
R, tab, 1, enter, tilde key.
Yeah, just R. There you go. I was struggling to remember what letter it was. There we go.
While we're waiting for everybody, check your situation out. Make sure you guys have the proper weaponry equipped. Grenades, med pins, things like that. Grenades aren't important if you don't have them, but med pins, weaponry. Anyone stuck out in menus? Still loading, anything like that?
Just trying to get through my 2 frames per second.
No worries.
Memphis, move slightly to the left so we can fit 7-1 in between you and Focal. Also, don't go at ease until everyone's here, guys. It will bug them out.
Let's see. Chomps, would you mind a fighter and disabling the turrets?
Roger that. Will do. Let me re-equip my Ripper.
Oh, you won't need to do that. I'm talking the turrets at the
sorry,
bunker.
I thought I heard Connery. Okay.
XEV2.
7-1, take left on.
XVEV2.
It's on the north pole of the planet.
I think that's everyone, so you're back to your original position, Memphis. Eco have struggling to get in the server.
All right. I'm calling out a Cutlass Red. You guys can all head to pad 01.
Moving. Yes. 5 to an elevator, guys, so no one bugs out.
Okay.
Seven, we've got space in our elevator.
Bugging out. I'm on the
Go
way.
ahead and send it, Snake.
No issue. We're still up, so.
Chomp, since you are familiar with it, are you okay with taking down the comm array later for
7-1, there's an
PvP
elevator
portion?
right behind you.
Roger, can do.
Okay.
Awesome, thanks, buddy.
You want that done first?
Okay,
No, hold
fine.
I'll
Everybody
just
else
say-
can.
with it
I
later.
can also press buttons.
I'm pretty chumps. We do our PvP right at the end of the session,
Sorry, say again.
just so you know. So we just leave it
Do you
until
want
we
certain
leave our
stag?
PvP until the end of the session. Just don't bother taking it down until the
Roger.
blood basically sends you off.
Everybody else, get on board, set your ICU. First two people that are not on Stag that do so, replace the current members on Stag so that they can do so.
GMG XEV2, right?
That is correct.
Roger all.
All hands aboard, collapsing stag.
Raj, in future, be told to collapse stack.
With that in
Ricardo
mind, is
basically-
anyone not at pad 1? Anybody waiting to board the Cutlass Red? Now's your chance to speak up before you are left behind. We are dusting off.
Do you want me to fly by you guys?
Yeah,
do
that'd
stuff?
be great. Let me pull us away from the pad real quick.
Yeah. Where do you want us to go down to?
XEV02. All right, so I am Lance Corporal Blood. I will be teaching you guys about a Renegade Blue Phase today. Blue Phase is basically the beginnings of your skills and drills toward becoming a qualified Marine. It will test you on and teach you on the correct comms we use, battle drills, things like that. Basically, you're going to learn first and foremost how to safely debuss from any craft, how to breach and clear areas, bunkers, anything enclosed, and how to properly operate as a fire team, pair, squad, anything that Renegade kind of does, any of the facets that we operate in, teach you how to do all that stuff. With that said, we have 5 battle drills that we kind of go through. It's more elaborated in Red Phase, but the one that we're going to cover today is going to be Popper Cell. 6 battle drills. What I covered today is Popper Cell. It is an acronym. We will run through it real quick while we're on our way to the bunker. So with that said, you should be able to follow along in your Blue Phase document. Let's start with P. Let's start with, let's see, Memphis. Can you tell me what the P in Popper Cell stands for?
It stands for protection.
Yep, and what do you think that means, just briefly?
I guess just situational awareness, understanding, what's around, and where
Yeah,
blue 4
kind
and red 4 are.
of. Big thing is with a popper so check, we want to do so in a safe environment, right? Because we are officially doing like admin at that point. We're taking stock of our fire team, of our squad, and reporting that up the chain, seeing how combat effective we are, right? So in this situation, we're going to perform a popper so inside of this ship. So do you think we are adequately protected?
I would say so.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. 4-4, what does the A stand for?
Ammunition.
Yep, pretty self-explanatory. Ammo for your weapon system, that it's the right type, and that you have enough. When I say that you have enough, when we do an ammo count, when I ask you for it, you will say green, yellow, red, or black. Green means that you have enough magazines on you for, like, say, full battle rattle, and that also includes what's in your inventory. So you have enough ammo to withstand several firefights, basically. That would make it green. Yellow means you could probably, for you to be in a red state. Red means you might only have one more engagement in you before you're black, and black means that you are combat ineffective. You have no ammo. Mulligan, what does the W stand for?
Weapons. Ensure you have the correct weapon for the job.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'd be like LMGs, shotguns, SMGs, sniper rifles, things like that. What else can kind of fall into that?
Area AO clear of turrets.
Awesome, thank you. For the Cutlass Red whenever we arrive.
Roger all.
Yep. Weapons, pretty self-explanatory again. What does the P stand for?
Personal camouflage.
Yep.
Not really a factor in this game just yet. Basically, you want to be ensuring your camouflage suits the environment.
Yeah,
you're going
absolutely
into.
right. And like you said, it's not really a factor yet, but maybe eventually, whenever we have more diverse climates, environments, things like that, these suit will come into play. Maybe optic camouflage, something like that, right?
Can I have something on that one?
Cool.
So
Yeah,
it is
absolutely.
kind of a play right now. For example, if we were to operate on somewhere like Aberdeen, would we need to take into account our personal camouflage?
Yeah,
Anyone?
because it's
Yeah, extremely hot planet. We survive about 10 minutes in our normal armor. So that's not a viable thing. So we need to make sure we have an armor that suits that environment. So when we did do it, we had hot suits on. Just
Yep,
an example of when it can be used.
Example would be that
Yeah,
tank
makes
battle
sense.
we did. It's too hot for an acidic. Good call, it, Sky. Let's see, fusion core. What does the E stand for?
E stands for equipment.
Yep. Can you elaborate on what that would be?
Basically having everything that you just need, so stuff like med pens, oxygen pens, and food and water when they become more important later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And then I'll just cover this one. The next one is R for radios. Radios is basically what we're doing right now. We're on TeamSpeak, we're talking, so we can tell that that check is complete. More specialized part of that would be if you are on fleet nets or company nets, things like that. You would test those, but until you guys get there, you won't really be briefed on that. Let's see, Rocknack, what's the S?
S is for specialist equipment. This is to ensure if any specialist equipment is needed, that they have it ready, like repair kits, multi-tools, flashbangs.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And then the last thing is O, that's orders. So once we complete this check and we run through the list and we get a snapshot of how the squad is doing, how combat effective they are, if they need rearm, resupply, something like that, we send that up the chain to, say, Robin or, say, Tycho, who then gets an idea of how combat effective we are or not, and then he can then give us orders on withdrawing or continuing our tasking. Make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Typically, we would do this before an engagement. We would do that after an engagement. In the middle of a, say, combat patrol, we come into contact, we kill the enemy, we regroup in an ARD. That's our protection. We run through it, pass up the chain, and Bob's your uncle. Cool. Good job, everybody. For the next portion, I am going to teach you guys how to properly debuss a craft. Debussing a craft is just like it says. You are exiting a craft in a tactical manner. The way we do this is we have a squad that breaks down into 2 fire teams. That would be Charlie and Delta. If you orientate yourself with the rear of the vessel, where the ramp is, you're facing the vessel. Charlie is always on the left side. Delta is always on the right side. So I'm going to split you guys up into fire teams at this point. So Landschneck, you're already on the left. You're going to be point man Charlie. Where you will set yourself up is on the edge of this ramp here.
Glad I'm going to comment for 2 minutes.
Raj. 4-9, you will be next in Charlie. You will scoot right behind Landschneck. So for the point being Landschneck and 4-9, why don't you guys just face forward so the others can kind of get an idea of it. Fusion, fall in behind 4-9. 7-1 behind Fusion.
Cool.
Rockback, you are point man Delta. Followed by 4-7 Mulligan. And then Memphis. And then Snake. Codex, you will be last man Charlie. So that would be left side. So 4-4, you are on Delta's side right now. I threw you guys a little bit of a curveball. So it's a little bit bigger than normal, but this works. So typically in this form, Charlie's going to be your assault squad, Delta's going to be your command squad, reinforced squad, something along those lines, right? And you're going to have a 2 IC in Charlie and your actual 1 IC in Delta. Cool. So if you guys look to the sorry about that, my game froze. If you guys look to the document, you can kind of see a picture of how you guys are set up in the cargo bay. A lot of you guys have been through something similar. Something I want to touch on is weapon safety. We'll do this before we do anything. So at any time when you are not told to be debussing or having your rifle on your shoulder, you're going to have your weapon unsafe. So the way you do that, you can kind of see some of you have already done it. Rockneck and Mulligan, for instance. You pull your weapon out and you put it on carry. There's not a select fire that will facilitate a safety, so your safety is just holding it to your torso. At all times, you will do so. Another thing that kind of goes in line with that, just like real life, we don't want to flag anybody. What that means is pointing the barrel at something like a soft target that you don't intend to fire upon.
Sorry, that was called flag?
Yep. So if I were to raise my rifle, I'll do it real quick. Right now I'm not flagging anybody. If I turn, I just flagged all of you.
I see. Okay.
Does that make sense? So don't do that. Only point your weapon at what you want to kill. Cool. With that, I'm going to cover something real quick. Everything that you guys do, you will respond with your call sign and set, or your call sign and what you're doing. So if you're moving, if you're set, things like that. And when we are giving orders and responding to orders, we do so in a certain fashion. There's an acronym for that as well. It is CLAP. I will run you guys through this real quick. The C is clear. We want everything to be said clearly. We want to understand what we're saying. The L is loud. We want to do so loudly so that we can hear what we're saying. A is as an order. And what that kind of means is if I give direction or if I say something, give a tasking, I don't want to ask, say 4-9, hey, do you want to clear that bunker? Because that's just time wasted. It's going to be confusing. Whenever I say to clear the bunker, I'm going to do it as an order, whether I'm your superior or not. That way it's given and received in the proper manner. And then whenever we are giving information, the last P comes with pauses, right? I could talk real fast like this and just get information out real quick and you're going to miss stuff. But if I do so clearly, loudly, and with this candor and use pauses, it disseminates that information properly so that you can digest it. Understood?
Roger.
Cool. Let's move into the fun stuff.
A question.
Yeah, shoot.
So because, you know, usually this would be usually just with Renegade Marines, but because we have, you know, myself and other Trident people and Outlaw people, when we're saying our call signs, do we usually have to attach, the prefix of our attachment or whatever? So Outlaw, Renegade.
So it kind of depends, right? 90% of the time, you guys will not be in the field with us doing this kind of thing unless something seriously went sideways, right? In that event, though, if there are multiple 4-7s or multiple 3-7s in the group, and one is Trident, one is Outlaw, then yeah, absolutely, use your call sign beforehand. The big thing is, though, with what I'm kind of referring to on this, you don't necessarily have to. And the reason is, if I say Rocknack stack on me, or if I say Trident 4-7 stack on me, he's going to know who I'm referring to. Or even if I don't say Trident beforehand, if I'm close to the door and 4-7 is relatively close to me, and you are 4-7 as well, and you're 50 yards away from me, it kind of makes sense that I'm probably talking to him, right? So use your judgment. If you can think to do it and there's multiple of your call sign in the group, then yeah, use your prefix. But if it's just you, no need.
All right.
Good question. Cool. Let's move on to the next part. The next part is debussing the craft. So if you're looking in your blue phase, you'll see a picture of Charlie on the right and on the Delta on the left. This is an older image. We need to tweak this, but the basic gist is there. What I want you guys to pay attention to is more so how that structure is, your squares are. So when you guys are in this position, you're stacked up ready to debuss a craft. Charlie on the left, Delta on the right. There is a terminology that we use in the United States called nut to butt. We do that in formations, we do that in stacks and all that stuff, and it's exactly what it sounds like. When you are in a stack, whenever you are in a formation, you want to be with your nuts right up on the guy in front of you's butts. So face forward, push yourself as forward as possible, without bulldozing the guy in front of you. What that does, as you can kind of turn and see, is that just opened up a lot of space back here, right? So if we had more people in Delta, they can then squeeze into that stack. Another thing to take note of is the actions on that you will receive when you're in this stack. So as we are traveling in a dropship, we are usually in a hot zone. When in a hot zone, you are being fired upon probably. Happens most of the time. So you want to debuss the craft as quickly as possible. But there's a couple of things that you will hear before you are allowed to debuss. One of them is standby. So your pilot will be relaying information to Tycho, Robin, or myself, letting us know how close we are to the drop zone. When we get close enough that it's about time to exit the craft, you will hear standby. What this means is you are now to put your rifle stock in your shoulder. You can bring your weapon up. The easiest way to do this is by right-clicking. Do not left-click, because that will do a negligent discharge into the guy in front of you. So let's go ahead and try it now. Standby. A lot of guys probably noticed what just happened is when you did that, you inadvertently kind of flagged the guy ahead of you. So you'll kind of want to just point your weapon to the left or the right of the person in front of you. But you'll hear standby, the ramp will go down, and you do not exit the craft until you hear me say debuss. So let's put your weapons back on safe. I want you guys to scroll down a little bit in the document. You'll see a picture of the cargo bay and the ramp, and you'll see multicolored Marines with arrows indicating traversal range and traversal movement. That will be your guide right now on which direction to debuss. Normally I would run this through with my trained Marines, but I don't have too many right now to make it work, so we're going to kind of do this live. So you can see those arrows are color-coded, right? The arrow for red matches the red square on the front right. Blue arrow matches the blue square, so on and so forth. So when you debuss, I will just kind of slip in front of Rockneck here, and I will kind of show you. So if you hear standby, my weapon goes up. I hear debuss, and so I am technically the red square here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run down the ramp. As soon as I hit to the bottom, I'm going to turn 90 degrees right, just like the arrow indicates, and I'm going to sprint for about 3 seconds, and then kneel, prone, whatever I can do depending on the terrain, and I will say 3-7 set. That's the very important part, is first man off, 90 degrees to your corresponding direction, sprint for about 3 seconds, stop, call sign, and set. The call sign and set portion is pretty important because it lets me know as the one I see that you guys are where you're supposed to be and we're ready for tasking. And then goes so on and so forth. The second guy in the stack is yellow. He comes out. He turns toward the yellow arrow and does the same thing. 3 seconds, stop, his call sign set. Same for green and same for blue. Your blue guy's the last in the stack. You're basically going to run straight out the back for about 3 seconds after you hit the ground, call your sign, and set. If you do it right, it should form a half circle at the rear of the vessel, and all your weapons and all your arcs should be covering about 180 degrees of the rear of the ship's arc. Does everybody kind of understand what I mean by that?
Yep.
Yep.
Question?
Yeah,
so
shoot.
You said at the beginning of that to go prone or go crouch. Is there a detail of that? Like,
So not really, and the reason is it's kind of a judgment call that you're going to have to make in the field. I'm not going to micromanage you on that.
okay.
The way it kind of works is most terrain in Star Citizen is not flat, and unfortunately in Star Citizen you pretty much have to have flat terrain to go prone, right? So the biggest thing is you are what's considered a point target, right? When you're in a combat environment, you want to lower your profile as much as possible, either through cover or concealment. We're out in the open right now. There's not a lot of cover, so what you can do to mitigate rounds hitting your soft target is to lower your profile. So you can go prone, you can crouch, whatever the case may be. The lower you can get, the better, but sometimes the environment will not let you go prone, so you'll just have to crouch. Does that make sense?
Yep, roger.
That's why it's kind of on you, because you'll know. I won't be able to tell. Cool, we're going to practice debussing now, so get a good look at where you are in the stack and kind of go from there. So 4-4, Codex, you're in the rear. So what's going to happen in Charlie is there's going to be an extra square there, right? So rear man will be blue. 7-1, since you are kind of in between green and blue on that, you're just going to kind of slot yourself in between the green and blue arrows, if that makes sense.
Cool.
Cool. All right.
Got it.
Stand by. Debuss. Go, 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 quickly.
6-5 set.
4-9 set.
6-3 set.
4-7 set.
7-1 down.
3-1 set.
4-9
Outlaw
set.
4-4 set.
Trident 4-4 set.
All right. Cool. So, Snake. Something that happened with you there is you were in Delta, correct?
Yeah, I was on the right side of the
Yeah. So,
cargo bay.
this will happen in red phase more, but it's something to take note of here while you're here. You want to act like an arrow. So what I saw from the behind, it's not necessarily something you did on purpose, but you kind of inadvertently started to kind of drift over this way, right?
Okay.
If you look between Memphis and 4-4, that's probably about where you wanted to end up, which is about where I'm standing. All in all, though, if you guys can you can stand up, turn around, and look if you want. That was pretty damn good for your first time. So you can kind of see.
Real quick.
Yeah.
What's a term we use for a casualty?
7-1 set.
I hope not.
No, what's the term we use for a casualty?
Man down.
Man down. What did someone say during that?
7-1 down.
Okay, so can you see why that might be a problem in a combat environment?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
Certain words mean certain things, guys. Make sure if you're told to say something when you're doing something, you're saying that exact thing. Because if you go somewhere off and you say something like down, or you say set, and when you mean covering, no one's going to know what you mean. It's with set and covering, it's a bit different. We'll get into that later. Like, it can be understood, but in general, while you're in training, guys, we need these comms to be what we would expect, just to make sure that you understand what's going on.
Yep, very good. So with that, guys, kind of take a look around. You'll see that you all pretty much nailed it with your distance and all that. If you kind of look, you guys formed like a perfect half circle, 180 degrees outside of the ship. Some of you are clustered up. That's just kind of due to the nature of having extra people in that stack. But you want to maintain roughly about 10 to 15 meters apart is what it should amount to. Biggest thing is here, why do you guys think we would only face 180 degrees to the rear? Why wouldn't we cover the front?
Because the front of the ship has its guns on it.
Yep, that's exactly right. We're not going to outshoot those guns on the front of the ship, so that arc's covered. So cool, awesome. Let's
Uh,
practice
One
it one
systems
more
down.
time.
Can I just bring something up?
Yeah.
So yep, as Blood said, you do need a decent amount of distance between you, and he did bring up the fact that one side had more people in it. If your side of the stack has more people in it, what you need to do is you need to figure out how many people you have. So let's say you have 5 people, and you know you're going to be all on about a 90-degree angle. You're all on one side, yeah, one corner. Calculate who's in front of you, calculate who's in behind you, and then figure out the angle you need to run at. It's fine if you're a bit clustered up because of the amount of people, but calculate that angle so everyone else can go with it. Don't look at wherever else is running, just go to your angle, and that's all that matters.
Yep. Real quick, guys. Why wouldn't we want to cluster up in that scenario?
Grenade explosions.
Yeah, exactly right. Cool.
What is it?
Or suppression.
16
If you're
that they're adding
getting
mines?
Say again.
And 16 they're adding mines, correct?
no clue.
Yep. Believe so.
Um,
Big thing is though, like Sky said, grenades going off. That's a opportune target, right? If I see 3 guys clustered, I'm chucking a grenade. I typically carry an MG, so if I see a cluster of guys, that's a target-rich environment, right? I can get more rounds in a small area and get more casualties racked up.
even if
The
the enemy
more
doesn't
spread
see
out you
though.
are, it's better.
Yeah, even if the enemy doesn't see you though, and they're just suppressing where they think you might be, if someone is suppressing your position and there's 3 people clustered together, they're more likely to hit someone just by suppressing. So that
Absolutely right.
distance is needed.
Cool. Everybody back on the ship, slot into your appropriate sides, and let's practice that one more time before we move on.
3-1, my game crashed. I'm loading back in right now.
So something I want to touch on too while you guys are forming up, you can see how deadly ramps can be, right? So it's just one of those things. But if you die going down the ramp, normally I would say take it easy, don't sprint down the ramp. But when we're debussing a craft, we want to get off the ship as quick as possible. There's been several org v orgs where only a couple of us make it off, even with us in a full sprint, because the ship explodes as we're landing. So sprint down, speed's big on debussing.
I'm going to sit down here and watch from down here. I'll activate a flare so you guys know who I am.
Cool. So for now, since the ranks are screwed up, let's see, 4-4, why don't you shift over to Delta? That'll give us even numbers.
Blood, I got a question for you.
Yeah, shoot.
So, when you say standby, that's when we bring our weapons up, right?
Yep.
Out of carry.
Yep, absolutely. And something I saw that I want to touch on real quick is I saw in Delta, a couple of you noticed that the guy to the front of you was putting his weapon system maybe to the right of the guy in front of him. And you stepped more towards the center of the craft to get your weapon around the guy in front of you. Don't move left or right at all. Just point your barrel to the right or left of the guy in front of you. You don't necessarily have to see in front of you to get your weapon out of the area, right? So just something to keep in mind. Cool. Last thing to touch on before we run through this again is Star Citizen is desyncy. So as soon as you hear Debuss, even if the guy in front of you is not moving, run through him like he's a brick wall and you're the Kool-Aid man. Odds are he's actually already out of the ship. You just aren't seeing it yet. So don't rely on the model in front of you. It's probably scuffed. As soon as you hear Debuss, get off the ship.
Roger.
Cool. All right, stand by.
Wait, 3-1 back. I'm back. Do you want me to join the ring?
Yeah,
I'll
you can
wait.
slot in the back of Delta if you want.
Alright, my weapon seems to have... Okay, there we go.
Let me start 2-0. Are you in the server? If not, I'm
He's on
streaming
board.
in. Is he? Cool.
Stand by. Debuss. Get the fuck off my boat. Go.
6-5 set.
4 seconds.
4-9 set.
6-3 set.
4-4 set.
I'll
7-1 set.
4-9 set.
Sweet. Overall, pretty decent. 4-4, you maybe stopped just shy. Maybe a couple other people maybe went a little bit far, but it's negligible where you're at. So what I would do in that situation, guys, is just kind of take a peek left and right. You can hold Z to keep your gun forward and only turn your head. Just hold Z, turns your head and looks. Keep your eyes on the people left and right of you. If you can see that you're a little bit behind, just adjust yourself. But yeah, overall pretty decent. You guys get the general idea of your lane that you're supposed to take when you debuss, and that's kind of the biggest factor here. From this point, we will touch way more on this in red, but we would then put our weapons on safe and begin to patrol off to the objective. We would do that in a slow walk, and we would do so with Charlie leading off. So the way that that would work is Landsknecht on the left would lead us off towards the objective. So Landsknecht, if you want to go ahead and do that, and when you start moving toward the bunker, say your call sign and moving. 4-9, once he's about 20 meters away from you, you do the same, follow him, maintain about 20 meters distance, and then all the way down the line.
Roger.
So go ahead when ready.
Landsknecht, moving now.
So Landsknecht, your call sign is 6-3, so you would say 6-3 moving.
6-3, moving now.
Sweet.
4-9 moving.
Trident 4-9 moving.
7-1 moving.
For this, since we touch on this more in red, you guys can go ahead and mouse wheel all the way up and do so at a jog, just to kind of keep timing in mind. While we're waiting on Sky to clear the bunker and while we're moving toward it, I will let you guys know something a little early, a little bonus information that comes from red, is that we maintain 20 meters distance between one another in clear skies. If it's nighttime or vision is clouded due to a storm, that's 10 meters.
6-5 moving, last man.
You can hear that one of my trained guys, Rocknack, has said last man. Typically what we hear is, for instance, if I'm the last guy in the patrol and I'm moving off, I will say 3-7 last man moving. What that does is it lets my 2IC and 1IC know that the entire shtick is now on patrol. There is nobody left behind, and everybody's accounted for. Cool, guys. So where you guys are at right now, while you hear Sky inside murdering everyone, this is the front of a bunker. This introduces us to our breaching phase of tonight. Breaching is kind of one of the hearts of what we do in Renegade, especially right now. Breaching is essentially going in and clearing out an unknown structure, right? Many of you have done the bunker mission before, so you know the layout, but in the future and in real world, 90% of the time you don't know what that layout looks like. You might not have intelligence on how many people are inside, and with that, this makes this the most high casualty event that a Marine will do in his or her career. So the big thing is, this is something that's always going to happen. It's high casualty, so with that, this is why learning this stuff is very important. This is why comms is important, so pay close attention. We're going to run you through this stuff. Something to kind of be aware of is the way you guys kind of ended up. You are in a patrol formation, right? You guys are all on a line. You guys are all moving. You end up to the front of the objective. So if you guys can kind of get nut to butt again, you don't have to be facing each other like you were before, but you guys kind of want to be in cover, right? So you'll stack up behind this big forklift-looking truck thing. Over here, 4-9, sorry. I didn't mean to say behind, but
okay,
where you guys are at. But so in this scenario, we want to maintain our safety and we want to maintain our combat readiness, right? So Landsknecht, since you are the first guy in the stick, your weapon is probably going to be pointed at the objective, right? You're going to watch that threshold up there, that doorway, and make sure that if any unlucky fuck pokes his head out, you're going to put a round in him, right? Everybody else in the middle, you guys have your backside covered by this piece of cover. So you guys would have your rifles pointing downrange toward where I'm at right now. then you can see how 4-7 is not in cover, and Rockneck is the last man. So 4-7 is familiar with what we're doing here. He is basically doing what we would call like a herringbone. So typically that would be more involved. Every other guy in a herringbone would alternate their rifle's direction of arc. Since you guys have cover to the rear, you're facing the right. He doesn't have cover to the rear, so he's covering our left axis. And then Rockneck, as the last man, is covering the rear. That's effectively what I want to see when you guys are in a stack. Cool. Any questions about this so far? Cool. So the first stage of breaching is stacking up every single time. No matter what you're breaching, it's stacking up. With that, there are a couple things to take note of. When you're in a stack, you're going to keep your arcs like I've taught you. There's something that needs to be said about breaching. Can anybody tell me what a threshold is? Just a quick little definition.
Threshold is an area you got to cross to get into the next room or area.
Yep, that's pretty much it. So threshold could be a doorway. It could be pillars in a room that kind of designate you're entering a new area, right? You don't know what's beyond that threshold. So anytime you see a threshold, what are we going to do to it?
And breach it.
Breach.
Absolutely. Yeah, we always breach thresholds. Another thing to know about thresholds, we never cross thresholds. So something to kind of show you what I mean by that is we've got a threshold here. Door's busted. I'm stacked up on the left side. Say someone calls for a split stack, which we won't get into that right now, right this second. But what that would look like is we'd have one of our people here and one on the opposite side. Your stack is split across the threshold. In order for me to get over there, I'd have to do this. I'd have to walk to the other side. I effectively, by doing that, crossed that threshold, right? So we never do that because there's enemy probably waiting on the other side of this threshold, and by doing that, lets them shoot me. I want to stay in cover. If there's no cover, you want to be concealed. So, cool. We're going to move into the actual breaching portion of this. You guys learned about thresholds, how we always breach thresholds, and what a stack effectively looks like. With breaching, we always breach in pairs. Everybody understand what I mean by that? 2 people? So yeah, if you guys kind of look at your stack right now, you guys are shook out to where there are groups of you inadvertently. So 4-9 and Lanchneck, you guys are a pair. 7-1 and Fusion Core, you're a pair, so on and so forth. Rockneck, you're kind of on your own, but we'll have somebody else breach with you if need be, or cycle through. So couple of words of commands that I will give you guys as a 1IC is to say, hey, Lanchneck, or hey, squad, I want you to start breaching and clearing that bunker. That lets you guys know, hey, it's time to get doing some wet work. Lanchneck and 4-9, you guys are the first 2 in the stack. Lanchneck might say, I'll tell Lanchneck and 4-9, say, hey, first 2 guys breach that doorway, breach that threshold. Lanchneck, as the point man, will then take it upon himself to initiate that breach. The way you do that is by saying, prepare to breach. 4-9 would respond with set when he is behind Lanchneck and ready to breach. Lanchneck would then say breach, or he would say breaching. That would be the go sign. That would be the term that means, okay, we're breaching now. So 4-9 and Lanchneck would then move off towards the bunker and start to breach it. 2-0, you want to do a quick comms on that so that they can kind of hear it ran out?
Yep.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breach. We would then go in and breach. Right clear.
Left clear.
Room clear, 1 exit front, next pair up. So you guys can kind of hear there what's going on.
If you saw any sprinting there, please don't do that. Have your weapon pointing up towards the door as you approach it.
Yep, no sprinting. Weapon up. When you're sprinting, you can't have your weapon up and engaging targets properly. So do so at a full mouse wheel up. Cool. So what you guys heard is us call for the breach and begin breaching. Once we were in the room, you guys will stick to the wall that you're on like a magnet. So the first guy will, if you guys want to come up here and watch this real quick, you can break out of your ranks and just check this out. I want you guys to see this. So if I'm point man, it's up to me to decide which angle I'm going to take, right? If I'm breaching from this side, then I'm going to do something different than if I'm breaching from this side. What I tell people to do is be a magnet. So when you're breaching a room, you want to stick to the wall. You want to breach into the room. Your eyes are forward. You're clearing targets as you're moving in. You then immediately turn left because I'm on the left side of the threshold. And you guys can kind of peel in here if you want to see. And then I clear my left side of the room. The second guy in the stack, since I went left, would then breach the right side of the room. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Oh, her.
Yeah.
Cool. So when you're doing that, you heard us call left side clear, right side clear, room clear. It's kind of like a song. It's a call and response. All this stuff is, the easiest way to think about it is a call and response. Whether I'm calling to prepare for breach, there's something you need to sing back to me. If I call left side clear, you're going to respond with your appropriate side is clear or not. Everybody kind of get what I'm saying there?
Roger.
It's very important to understand that because it can get confusing, right? You'll definitely blunder up, but we'll kind of walk you through it. So big deal is clearing your room, clearing your sector. Once your sector is clear, call that it is clear. Once your partner's side is clear as well, they will call the same thing. And then the lead person will then say, hey, room's clear. You will then say if there are any exits, where they're at, and then you'll call the next pair forward.
4-9, put that weapon on safe, please.
Why do you think we want to wait till we hear both sides are clear before we call the next pair forward?
Don't want to send
So
more
that you
meat into
don't-
the grinder if it goes to shit.
Yeah, absolutely right. We've had that happen before in RP orgs. Send a guy in thinking the room's clear and it's not. Cool. All right, let's get set up on the area you guys were set up just before this.
Just so I'm clear, sorry. When Lanchnek goes in, he will be going left, and then I will be going right.
For this instance, yes.
Okay.
And the reason is the way this door is set up. Now, if you guys breach from the other side, even though the door's kind of janky, you're a magnet, right? You're going to stick to the closest side that's close to you. So he would go right.
Right. Okay.
So you're checking the far corners and then checking the near corners on your side as you come in.
Yep. So think about an arrow pointing out in front of your body. So when you breach that threshold, the first thing that arrow is pointing at is the far corner of that room. That's the first thing you're clearing. Then you're turning 90 degrees to your left or right and clearing that arrow.
Roger.
All right, let's get formed up in the stack.
First
Anyone else
guys.
have like 4 minutes left of life?
Go
Exit.
warm up on the ship if you are about to freeze to death. As soon as you step on it, should only take about 10 seconds.
Question.
Shoot.
In an actual example, would you have that? You know, if we have multiple pairs breaching one room, do they all go through the same process, or does only one pair breach a room and they all move on to the next boundary?
Always through the same process. You'll never see that in blue phase. That's something more advanced. We'll kind of dig into that on more advanced tactics if you choose to take those classes, right? But for today, I want you to focus on just pairs. This is a lot to kind of absorb, so let's just focus on what we've got to absorb. But that is a good question.
319, actually, quick question.
Shoot.
So whoever's leading, which way do they go? Do they go?
Have to go to the ship.
Go for it.
Oh, sorry. So like, if I was standing right here
7-1.
and breach lead, would I go forward to the right side of the room or left towards the left side of the room?
If you were a magnet, would you stick to that door and would it inadvertently pull you into the left?
Yeah, I would stick to the left. In which case, would the person behind me go right?
Yep.
So you got
Okay.
a couple things. The first thing is you want to get out of the fatal funnel as quickly as possible. You want to get out of this little threshold area. Second thing is you want to get to a corner that you can clear out, which is generally the one that you're hooking on. The only way to smooth freely is to go to the other one, then the first person is going to do what he can to get out. What matters is also the second person goes opposite of whatever way the first person went to clear the corner that hasn't been cleared. So that's the most important. Get out of the fatal funnel.
That's
and
exactly
clear
right.
corners.
Second guy does the opposite of the first guy. So, cool. Everybody stack up. You guys can stack up right there. That's fine.
Don't get that confused with the fact that you always go left. That's just based on the environment you're looking at.
Yep. And we'll kind of touch more on that in the next little area. So, Landsknecht and Fusion, you guys are my first pair, so I want you to breach that threshold using the comms that I kind of taught you. Prepare to breach, set, breaching, left clear, right clear, room clear, exit front.
You can drop
next
the room
pair
clear.
up.
Yeah, you can drop the room clear. It's one that we don't run through.
Okay. All right. First pair, I want you to breach that room.
6-3 moving.
No.
Prepare to
That
breach.
Okay, there you go.
Set.
Weapon needs to be in his shoulder.
Breaching. Left clear.
Oh, we just glitched. Right clear.
Room to the front.
One more thing on the end.
Next team up.
Yep. Good deal. All right, so the next team up has been called, and you guys heard that there is a room to the front. So that would initiate 7-1 and Amsnek moving in and breaching the next room.
Just for game kind of bullshit, if you hear breaching, don't wait for the visual of the guy in front of you to go. Just kind of start moving. So
Yeah,
the
it's the
situation
same as
that you
the,
got into there, Fusion, it would remove that problem.
We in this situation, we set up at the same spot, prepare beach, and then flow through this room to the second room.
You could. Personally, what I would do is I would stack up closer to the threshold, right? Because we've got friendlies in there. You're not breaching and clearing the room that the friendlies just breached and cleared. So you know you can go in there and set up your stack, say, behind Amsnek. Does that make sense? Certain considerations to be made that you could breach through your forward pair to the next area. You could call your breach early, and you guys are moving up to the threshold. You're moving through friendlies, and then you just initiate your breach upon arriving at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
So
that
it's kind of
would
whatever kind of works for you, depending on the situation. So
if you're competent and your partner is competent, it's always safest to call it from a little further away from your actual breach point.
Yeah. If you guys ever see Bulgard and I do it, we will typically call it as we're moving towards the door. So, cool. All right, next pair, breach the next room.
Memphis, you have a weapon bug, mate. Just put it away and pull it out again with R. There you go, sorted itself out.
Alright, prepare to breach.
So, who's with Snek?
One of the Trident call signs just
Yeah,
died.
'cause,
Left or right
yeah, that
on the
happens.
floor.
This doorway with this patch is notorious. It'll just kind of like, it's like a ghost throwing you to the floor. So if you die, just respawn and come back in.
To kind of remove some of the bodies that are just clustering around here, if we break this down into maybe teams of 4 going through this, so if you're not a part of the breach teams going in right now, just rewind to where I am stood at and observe from a distance.
Yep.
You can be cycled in next. So Rob Mac, come back to me.
So for now, we'll have Codex and Snek breach the next room, and then the rest of you will go through next.
Yep.
Okay. So, prepare to breach.
Set.
Oh shit, what's the word? Is it just breaching?
Breaching,
Sorry.
breach.
Okay, breaching. Right clear.
Left clear.
Alright, room clear, elevator, center, forward. Next team up.
Good deal. So real quick, this trips everybody up. Is the room clear?
Currently, no, because 2-0 is sitting in the corner right here.
Yep. So this is something
down. Okay.
that I kind of touched on earlier. You always want to call that it's clear if it's actually clear. This room gets everybody, like I said, not a big deal. But
don't worry, you guys outside will get a chance to fuck up just as they did.
Yep.
Stay outside.
I did it my first time.
I did it my time too. So big thing is you guys might come in here and recognize the elevator as a threshold. That happens to some people, but the big thing is it's a elevator, right? So not exactly a threshold in the sense of the traditional thinking. So you want to clear the whole thing. Where Tycho was sitting, if you guys called that a room clear, if this were an org v org and I was hiding behind that, I probably wouldn't pop up until everybody was on the elevator ready to go down, and then I'd mow them down, right? So that could be a squad wipe pretty easy. So just big thing I want you to take away from that is take your time when you're clearing that room. There's speed and aggression, but I want you guys to be thinkers before shooters. What I mean by that is think about what you're doing. Don't just get comms out because it's the thing to do. Just think about what you're doing. So cool. All right, first 4 guys go outside. We'll cycle the next through.
If you didn't do it, just stack up where you started and get ready to go in. If you just did it, come over to me and observe.
Oh my god.
So if you just went through, if you were a part of the breach team that just went through, come over to the center to get yourself away from the active stack.
So the first team began their breach up close to the door. The 4 here are choosing to do so back here. That is perfectly fine. Either way is fine.
I would be happier with that.
I would be as well. And the reason is, guys, we don't know what's beyond that threshold up there. If there's a guy in there with an RPG or a grenade launcher or a MG, he can just stick that thing out the door and take out half your squad in one go. So being a little bit away kind of gives you a little bit of a tactical advantage.
If you see someone in the room, is it contact?
Yep.
Yep.
Roger.
You would engage from that position. Rocknack would be the guy to say contacts and pull the trigger.
Yep.
Roger.
I'm still a bit confused about something, which is so you have the first pair who breaches the first threshold. Do you then wait for another pair to then go ahead of you to breach the second one?
Like a leapfrog. You ever play that as a kid?
Pounding Overwatch.
Well, something that Fusion will understand as a non-military member.
The first team's pretty much covering the second team.
If you don't have personnel inside a room, you do not have control of that room, essentially. Because enemy can still reinforce position coming into this bunker, and there is still enemy further ahead. So if you send 2 guys in, and you just move all the way through here to this elevator room here, oh, nobody saw that.
Nope, not at all.
Freaking hell. Into this elevator room, and they get into contact, and they both go man down. The next available manpower is still all the way back out here, so there is no support to be given into that firefight. So the way that we keep manpower flowing, keep reinforcements ready to engage, keep control of the environment is through leapfrogging through one another. Did you play leapfrogging as a kid, or do you know what it is?
I don't recognise the name, no.
When someone crouches and you jump over their heads, basically?
No, okay.
No?
So you crouch,
But
I
I
jump
get-
over
I
your
get what you mean,
shoulders.
yeah.
I crouch, then you jump over my shoulders, and that's how we advance forward.
Yeah.
What Tycho said is a big thing, right? When we're assaulting a bunker or going in an engagement, typically you want a 3-to-1 ratio. We want 3 Marines for every 1 enemy. That just gives us an advantage in manpower. That manpower advantage is lost if our group is separated by more than 1 room. For example,
Also,
what Tycho said.
What if this room had additional doors to it, and there was another corridor off to the left and another corridor out to the right, and we had a pair run through this, and there was a connecting doorway here and a connecting doorway here, and then enemy cut them off? We couldn't do fucking dog shit about that. So we need presence to secure the area.
And each of those doors will be a boundary.
Yep, exactly.
Yep, exactly right. That's a good question.
All right, thank you.
Cool. For time's sake, we're going to move on. I'm going to have Rocknack and 4-9 breach and clear the first room in the bunker whenever you guys are ready.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching.
Remember to always stand up when you're moving. Only time I ever want you guys crouching is if
Left
it's
clear.
Because of cover.
Right, clear.
Room clear. Next team up.
Perfect. You guys saw he called next team. The next pair moved, and they called that they were moving.
And because that room's secure, they
Prepare
don't
to
need
breach.
to do the breaching thing in that first run.
Set.
Breach. Contact. Elevator.
No, ignore me.
Good drills, though.
Left clear.
Room clear.
Trident 4-4, you are terminatoring.
So, not sure if there was a comms issue, but I did hear left clear and then room clear. Just make sure you're calling right clear. Did you call that Memphis?
Yeah,
I heard
copy
him.
that.
I heard him say that.
Okay, cool. So you guys called room clear. Any other considerations to be made in comms at this point?
Elevator, no exits.
Cool. So elevator would be an exit,
Mhm.
and what you would still call is next pair up.
Pair up, yeah.
Now at this point, what I would do is I would have the entire squad move on to the elevator, begin a different breach. But yeah, all in all, that was pretty decent. Anybody want to try that again? Everybody kind of feel comfortable with what we're doing here?
Yeah, I think I'm good with it.
Yeah, I feel good.
Cool. Awesome. So another quick consideration, Rockneck and 4-9, I want you guys to stay exactly where you are. I want everybody else to kind of keep eyes on me. When the next pair moves in, let's say Trident 7-1, or you know what, Landsknecht, you're going to be my second guy in my stack. So we're moving
Righto.
up to breach this next room, right? 4-9, keep your door on that, or your weapon on that threshold like you guys had just breached and you were covering this room. Something that we want to kind of consider at all times when we're doing this is our rear guard. Rear guard's important because it kind of watches our rear flank. So at this point, the room that I'm standing in is clear. The next room is what we're going to be breaching. Since I am now breaching into the next room, I will become the forward pair. 4-9 or Rockneck knows that I'm the next pair up. I'm here. I'm calling for my breach. What they could then do is take up rear guard. So for instance, let's say 4-9 hears that I'm here. I call for my breach. He sees that we're present. He can then move to the rear here, set up at this entryway, get in cover, and say 4-9 rear guard.
4-9 rear guard.
Yep. So basically what we're doing at this point, this room's clear, we're breaching the next one. He knows that the action that's going to take place is going to be covered by my team. He can then cover the rear. He moves to do so. That's something that I might have myself or a 2IC direct guide you to do, but it's also something that I want you guys to think about actively. Think about where you are in the stack, think about what you're doing, and take some initiative on yourself as a Marine to do that. Cool. Everybody get that?
So let me just review that so I understand. So
yeah,
once Rockneck and I have cleared the room and the call is for the next pair up, the next pair moves into the room, and then when they say prepare to breach, at that time you take rear guard as an option.
It's not exactly that. What I want you to think more on is what's happening on a combat scenario, right? The action in your room's done. The next action is to the front. There's probably nothing going on to the rear because you still have Marines to the rear. So if we're in your position where you're guarding the door because we're going to start breaching, you don't have to cover that arc anymore because we're at that arc.
I see.
Regardless of if you hear us call it or not, once you see us in that position, you can move off and you can take rear guard.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Thanks. Yep.
That's kind of what I mean by thinkers before shooters, is things like that. You don't have to necessarily always wait for us to say something or do something. If you see something and you know it's a hole in our defense, fill that gap. Cool. Everybody on the elevator. For this scenario, like I said before, many of you have cleared this bunker. You know the layout inside out. I want you to forget you know anything about this bunker. This is a building we've never been in. So from this elevator, there are some tactical considerations to make. There's 2 thresholds on the elevator. So in my mind, not knowing what lies at the bottom, that could tell you that there's 2 exits, right? So there's a way that we kind of can form an all-around defense on the elevator. So Memphis, you're already set up in Charlie. So you go ahead and put yourself where you're at. Actually, you know what? Rockneck, you've done this before. I'm going to use you. So Rockneck, one up on you. Rockneck would then take a knee where he's at. I wonder if Rockneck's here.
Yep.
Cool. So you can kind of see how Rockneck and I are. This is a one-up position. Rockneck's rifle's pointed downrange. I am above him. Basically, we've now got 2 rifles pointing down the same arc. The reason we call one up is that lets Rockneck know, hey, if we get into shit, don't stand up or you're going to get shot in the back of the grape. So the way that I initiate that is I say, Rockneck, one up on you. He instinctively takes a knee. He knows I'm behind him and above him, ready to let the hell out. Another way you can initiate that is say Rockneck is in his position and he recognizes that it's a good spot for a one up. Rockneck can say, one up on me.
One up on me.
Copy, 1 up on you. So that lets him know that I'm 1 up on him. What I want you guys to do, since you're not kind of used to these kind of comms, is use your call sign. So Rockneck, he'll call it. I'll say 3-7, 1 up on you. Memphis, you can try it now. Fusion Core, I want you to 1 up on Memphis. So Memphis, call for 1 up.
Outlaw 4-4, 1 up.
I can't remember what to say, sorry.
Just say 1 up on you.
So no call sign or anything?
Nope, you don't have to.
If they know that it's you involved, if they don't know you're directly behind them and you just say 1 up on you, that could apply to anyone. If you say 1 up on you 4-9, then that's a guarantee to who you are 1 up on.
Okay.
So in that scenario, he directly asked for you to do so. So you can just say, yep,
So
1 up on you.
1 up on you?
Yep, you'd stand directly behind him and above him with your rifle pointing at the same arc. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Lanchnecht, I want you to 1 up on Rockneck. 4-9, I want you to get in the position that Mulligan is, but the opposite side. And 4-4, I want you to 1 up on 4-9. 7-1's already 1 upped on 4-7. 7-1, you're terminating. Yep, there you go. Sneck, you are kind of extra, so I'll just have you kind of... Rockneck, why don't you step out? I want Amsneck to take your position.
4-9, 1 up on you.
Cool. So you guys can kind of see that we are now in an all-around defense. If we go down and there's openings on both sides, we've got our defenses covered. Now, I'm going to send the elevator down, and we are going to start breaching and clearing the next portion of the bunker. Charlie is left, Delta is right. I don't want you to focus too much on that right now because we're going to be breaching in pairs through the whole bunker, but right now I'm going to call for Charlie to breach. So Memphis and Fusion Core, you guys are Charlie. You guys, when we start going down, you're going to call for your breach early. That lets you guys get ready, and then as soon as the elevator touches the ground, you're going to start breaching. Understand that, Memphis?
Understood.
Cool, I'm sending it. Charlie, I want you to breach and clear the first room of this bunker.
Charlie, breaching.
Nope, prepare to breach.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
No door, backside.
Breaching.
Stand up, Memphis.
You could go.
I have a
up,
question.
or go
How far does the boundary
7-1.
go? Because this is a very big room.
What do you see, Fusion? So
You
you
gotta-
just kind of went way into the bunker, right? Remember that thing about thresholds?
Thing is, I don't.
So here's the deal. I'll walk you through it real quick. We always say left clear, right clear, right? We don't want to overextend ourselves. So this corner here could be a threshold, right? Because technically, if you kind of looked at this room, I'm going to walk in a straight line from this corner to this wall. You've got boxes here. You've got a corner here. That looks like a threshold to me. So I might stop exactly where you're standing right now. Memphis is kind of set up. Looks like he kind of recognized that maybe I don't want to go any further, or I'm going to put a big gap between me and my backup.
Yeah.
Good question.
To further help build the picture, if you remember upstairs where we explained about why we keep 2 people in each room moving forwards, think about the sizable gap you leave between your squad the further you push out. In CQB, there's enemy potentially around every corner, so the more corners you take, the bigger threat that you're moving into.
So, for instance, when we were breaching this would be a good place to call right clear.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
Some
Alright.
rooms will be regarded as complex rooms, where you have to draw an imaginary line to stop yourself from going any further and getting separated from your squad and potentially ambushed by enemy.
Yep, we will touch on that here shortly, and we can kind of elaborate more. But so Memphis, you guys breached and cleared this room. I want you guys to do that one more time. So let's reset.
4-4, you have a weapon bug, mate. Guys, when the pair move away, the next guys in stack should be automatically moving through to create that one-up situation that you're observing the point pair doing, essentially, and the rest of you guys are in stack, waiting to take their position or move forwards.
So how you guys were
Square your weapon,
outside,
4-4.
the next pair would then shift up to the foremost pair's previous position, right? Because you're wanting to kind of cycle through. For this instance, something I didn't touch on, we got to the bottom, we saw that there's only one egress point, so you no longer really have to cover the back, right? You can then kind of see, okay, where am I in the stack? 4 people to a fire team. I'm going to shift over here because I'm already there. Move forward, so on and so forth. Cool. So Memphis, let's just run through it again. Pretend the elevator's moving. Call for your breach, and then go ahead and breach.
Do you want to put yourself in a stack, Landy?
Prepare to breach.
Roger.
Set.
Breach.
So do I stay
Left
where I am, or
clear.
do I move over to that corner?
Threshold right.
Morgan, what do you say to 7-1?
7-1.
Set.
One up.
Next pair up.
Yep, good
Prepare to
comms.
breach.
Let's hold there for a second. Something I want you to consider, Memphis, is you asked a question. Is this a threshold? Is this where I stop? Is this where I keep searching? So on and so forth. From where you're at, if you guys want to kind of look, you can see that there's no exit over here. This is a bulkhead. It's just a wall. You can also see that there's another one of these little sneaky fucking hidey holes right here.
Copy.
So that's what I mean by thinkers before shooters, right? So as you guys progress through your training, you guys are going to start to recognize some of this stuff a little bit more. So I probably wouldn't have called clear until I checked this little cubby hole. You guys will recognize that stuff on the fly. So where you're saying, do I stop here or not? Take that judgment call upon yourself, because I'm not always going to be there to guide you on this. I'm going to be in the rear. Memphis, you'll see that there's nowhere else to go room-wise on the left, and that the only exit is over by Fusion, right? So it makes sense to just kind of keep hooking around until you're on Fusion's flank. That way both your guns are downrange in the same kind of direction. So I would clear this cubby. I would maybe take up position here, or maybe even behind this little box here.
Copy.
Other than that, good comms. I liked what I heard. You guys called next pair up. So next pair in the stack, that would be the side that they just breached from. So Charlie, the 7-1 and Mulgan. You guys would then move forward.
State that you're moving so they know they're on the way.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching.
Nope. I want you guys to move first. I want you guys to get
Okay.
those comms down. So say
So-
moving.
Moving.
4-7 moving.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching.
Stand yourself up, Morgan.
Was that extending bug?
So 7-1, what do you see right now?
I see the room splits. And
Pretty big, right?
Yep.
A lot of shit going on. A little bit much for just 2 guys to clear, right?
Yep.
Cool. So I want you to come back to where I'm at, kind of reset just slightly. You can see where Mulgan kind of stopped. This is what Taika was talking about just a little bit ago with a complex room. So this is another iteration of why I want you guys to think about what you're doing before just being robotic with your comms. Your life is important in the sense of I need you guys to be alive to be effective. So by just going in here and breaching, you could easily get yourself shot up and killed. Recognize that if it's more than you can, bite off and chew, say so. The way that we say so is you might say, whoa, 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 stop, complex room. That lets me, as the one I see, know, hey, this isn't just a simple room that we can breach and clear. There's more considerations to be made. And the way that we can kind of counteract those considerations and complexity is by a different kind of maneuver called bounding.
Right.
Morgan, if you have a negligent discharge, just call that ND.
7-1
negative
ND.
on negligent.
Sweet.
And
So I'll kind of elaborate on this and maybe it'll kind of paint a picture. So you guys are breaching. You breached into here. You're calling left clear, right clear, all that stuff.
Which we had
Get to this point.
before he stopped us.
You get to this point and you see that it is complex, right?
Yes.
The reason I stopped you is you came clear into here. At that point, you would have been pinholed. Everybody does it. Everybody screws up here. It's just kind of part of the training. So what I want you guys to recognize is that it's more than you can kind of handle. And what you would say is complex room ahead. You could recommend that we bound by fire team pairs. That would let me in the back know, okay, we've got a complex room. Yeah, bounding's the right call. We're going to do so. So in this situation, you guys would kind of stop where you're at because you're still in cover. Call that out. I would say, yep, that's a good call. You guys are going to bound to the right. So what that means is when you guys start moving, you're going to move towards the right into this room. Everybody kind of understand that? The way that we bound is we only move when we're bounding when we are covered to do so. So what I'll say in a scenario, let's pretend that Fusion and Memphis are Charlie and that Mulligan and 7-1 are Delta. So I would say Delta to cover, Charlie to move. Delta's the forwardmost pair at this point, so it makes more sense that they can kind of cover a little bit better, and then Charlie could bound. You guys
that are stacked on the elevator, come off the elevator and stand behind this yellow fence so you can observe what's happening.
Yeah, come on out. We'll run
Behind
through
this yellow
this
fence.
in a typical fashion real quick so you guys can kind of understand the comms and understand
The one that I'm
movement.
stood at. Snack.
Really understand it.
Drop back to you.
Sorry, I don't have party members.
So the big thing is 7-1 and 4-7 are covering. The next pair would be Delta or Charlie, and they would then move. So 4-9 and 4-1, or 4-9 and Fusion Core, you guys would be the ones that are moving, right? You guys would not be doing so until they called covering.
So
what's going on, 7-1?
You have the first team. They're set right here. They're covering through this hallway. They're looking down the hallway. And you want us to stop exactly where they are and then just do nothing. Or
yep,
actually,
exactly what
that makes no sense. They already saw the hallway. There's no point for us to go, oh, hey, there's a hallway. The next point past them is person on the right side, person on the right side.
So let me ask you this, 7-1. He's bringing up a point that Fusion Core and Memphis are already in a position where they can see that room. Memphis, from where you're standing, can you tell if there is a wall on the left past that threshold or not? Can you tell if there is a opening in the center of this room? Can you tell if it does anything other than dip right?
I can
which
tell
is why
there's
having us stop at the same spot.
7-1, let me finish my thought.
Yeah, you just keep talking.
So here's the reason that we do it this way, guys, is we don't want to overreach ourselves. So if Fusion Core and Memphis decided to stop here, 7-1, then that's fine. But they stopped here because this is a threshold. You're kind of talking
us to stop
semantics.
inside the same threshold.
Yes, I do. And the reason is, if you stop up here,
so whenever I'm called to pass someone, I should stop at them instead of passing them.
You should just listen for now, is what I'm telling you to do.
So real quick, it's less important discussing about if this is an appropriate area to stop or this is an appropriate area to stop. That comes down to discussing tactics, and you could discuss tactics until you turn blue in the face, because column A could be right and column B could be right. You can't really determine that based on just that discussion, right? What Blood's using this as is using it as an anchor point to teach bounding. He's not using it as an anchor point to discuss why these boxes are good necessarily.
The reason I am having you stop in that situation is because of where Fusion and Memphis stopped. So if they had stopped where you guys had stopped, then yeah, you would maybe take up your covering position and they would move.
Like it's sort of like a very small
room. Okay, so from now on, I will stop right where they are whenever we do bounding.
So essentially, if I understand correctly, where you're standing, Blood, is at the beginning of the complex room?
It is, yeah. Right about where I'm standing here is maybe where you guys would recognize that, oh shit, this is way more than two guys can handle. Right. And you could theoretically take up positions here and be in cover, right? You could also, since you're right next to some cover and you're close to your team, just slide right back into cover. So it's not so much about how close you are to the guys that just breached the room. It's more about keeping yourself alive.
And also maybe the communication that the fact that you have a complex room and that a decision needs to be made by the leader.
Yep. Because as me, what I see, I'm probably clear back in the elevator. I can't see what the hell's going on. So it's all about getting me the information.
Okay.
Did you
The big thing is, 7-1, I totally understand what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. It seems kind of silly to stop you here. The only reason I do that here as opposed to there is it's an easier teaching point. All the guys that are standing behind you can see what we're doing right here a lot better. So it's kind of semantics. That's why I say that. So if you chose to stop here, that's fine too. But for this instance, I'm having you stop here.
4-7, just real quick, did you have an ND just then or not?
Yes.
Okay, please say fucking ND for the second time so we don't think that there's an enemy contact in this bunker. You just, even if someone's talking, just say ND and then we can forget about it.
Alright.
Cool. So on to bounding. So they called the complex room ahead. They recommended bounding by fire team pairs. Typically, what we'll do is we will continue our leapfrog approach. So 4-7 and say 7-1 are set up at these boxes. They recognized it was a complex room. They're in the foremost position. They are more apt to be able to cover. So I would say, yep, that's a good call. We're going to bound by fire team pairs. We're going to bound to the right. Foremost pair to cover, rearmost pair to move. So since there's such a clusterfuck of us, rather than breaking you guys down into fire team pairs, I'm just going to have you guys continue to bound through by pairs. So with where you guys are at, let's see, look, Codex and Amsnek would technically be like the last people in the stick. So
But,
you guys...
I don't mean to interrupt your flow.
You're
it
fine.
might be easier to have a fire team demonstrate a bounding one at a time whilst these guys continue to remain on observation.
Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. Let's do that too. So 4-7 and 7-1 are Charlie, Fusion Core, and Memphis are Delta. So a lot of times what you will hear me say and what kind of 2-0's getting at is I'll say Charlie to cover, Delta to move. So Charlie being 7-1 and 4-7, you guys are in that position. You guys would call out covering. Once Delta hears that Charlie called covering, they will say moving, and they will begin to move through the friendlies and bound to the right. So at this position, we are essentially leapfrogging in. We've no longer, we've stopped breaching and we've started bounding. Everybody kind of understand that?
So how far would you bound?
Short, sharp
I'm
bounce.
up, he sees me,
Yep.
I'm down.
Yep, that's pretty much it. I'm up,
The
he's seeing
next
him down.
available piece of cover in a CQB environment.
So Fusion and Memphis, you guys will call moving once Charlie says covering. So
Just one of you says it.
4-7, you'll say Charlie covering.
Charlie covering.
Delta moving.
Yep, exactly like that. Remember, we're bounding right.
Prepared to breach.
Nope, we're not breaching, we're bounding. So you guys will just start covering. That's my fault, I didn't cover that. So where you guys kind of stuck up, that's fine. Fusion, you are kind of in a stick right now. Maybe what I would do is take up this cover right here. Memphis has got that arc covered, so you could cover the left or the front.
Because I'm usually going on the assumption that when you're like the rightmost person, you always stick to the right.
When we're breaching, yeah.
Of course, when you're bounding, it goes different.
Yep, you're more concerned with covering for the next people to move, right? You want
You
your
have thrown
buddies
forwards
to
and
be
left.
safe. So where they're at now, they are covering. So you guys would call covering.
Covering.
You got to look towards where the threat is, Fusion.
So then 7-1 and 4-7, being Charlie, would then say moving, and they would bound through you guys to the right. So Fusion, go ahead and say covering.
Covering.
Charlie moving.
Yep.
Yeah, expectation, fire team, just follow them one bound behind. Blood, do you want to just take them on a full cycle around the loop?
Yeah, to the top.
Yeah, just on the top, like a racetrack.
Cool. So in this scenario, 7-1, not a lot of cover, but you're also kind of thinking, I can tell, like, I don't want to be too spaced out from my guys behind me. This is where it gets a little tricky. So where 4-7 stood and where 7-1 is, that's probably okay. It's okay to get a little bit distance if it means putting yourself in cover. So if you wanted to, you could move up to this point. In this scenario, I would even say you could probably just clear this little back area and start covering from where I'm standing. and 4-7, you could probably take up behind this box here. I liked where you stopped 4-7 and 7-1 because it shows me that you guys recognize, like, hey, there's some considerations to be made. So
Yeah, I don't know the level well enough to know how far this could move.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that I saw that had an opening on the wall, and I was like, I don't want to get shot from underneath.
Yeah, I saw that. That's good.
He stopped
Cool.
in really good cover, and I didn't want to get too far ahead.
Oh yeah, I get that. And what I want you guys to think about with that is your first guy that's moving is going to decide where you're stopping. So if Mulgan was the first guy and he stopped, he could call covering, and that means the second guy just take up some cover. Just kind of recognize that your partner may recognize something, you know what I mean?
For the sake of time, just to demonstrate that you understand the maneuver,
Yep.
we're not going to go anal on every bit of cover that you choose moving around this. We're just going to cycle you through.
We're going to blast through this. So you guys call covering, next pair
Charlie
move,
covering.
which is fusion.
Delta moving.
Spectators, feel free to walk forward to this area just here. Just stop here because they're going to go in a loop.
Crossing.
4-9, just come back to here. They're going to go in a loop.
Remember to call covering.
Delta covering.
Charlie moving.
And just keep
Charlie.
going left, guys.
Going left? Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to do a big circle. Ignore this room to the right for now.
Charlie, what's the word?
Just covering.
Covering.
Charlie covering.
Delta moving. You relieve fusion. Pick the spot.
Turn your flashlights off, by the way, guys. We don't use white light unless we
Delta
absolutely need
set.
to.
Delta covering.
Charlie moving.
Snack, turn your flashlight off, mate.
So this is bounding.
This is bounding, yep.
Because
You
in,
can see
the dock it says
two people
bounding
are
advance, I'll
moving
cover
forward.
you move.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Delta moving. Crossing.
General idea here, guys, is you can hear Memphis said crossing. Another thing you could say is check fire.
That is the term we use. Crossing could mean you're just crossing a bridge,
Delta set.
crossing your heart,
Covering.
and hope not to die. Check fire is the
Charlie
term we
moving.
use.
Charlie covering.
And then if you guys
Delta
want to
moving.
just move back into the area. Everybody kind of see that?
Yeah.
Cool. Good, we're going to run through that as a large group.
Should we get the other fire team to do it?
Yeah, that's probably a good point. So
So
if you guys
just so I'm
did
clear
it,
on the
step
comms,
back.
we don't say actually like bounding advance. We just say I'll cover or cover, move.
To
cover,
initiate
move.
it, to initiate it, it is said either by the squad leader or whoever's controlling the situation.
Right. Okay.
So like my comms earlier when I said, yep, we're going to bound to the right, Charlie to cover, Delta to move, is me initiating that for you guys.
I see. Okay.
So that fire team that was just observing, two of you come forward to set up on these boxes. One here, one on the left, one on the right. Next pair are bound behind, just at these boxes. One here, one on the corner.
So 4-9, I want you to recognize that it's a complex room and call that out and maybe recommend bounding by fire team pairs.
Weapon and shoulder rock now.
Okay. So when I do this, I say complex room. Recommend bounding to the right.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
7-1, you'll just be observing this one.
Cool, and I'll say, yep, that's a good call. Squad, we're going to bound by fire team pairs to the right, Charlie to cover, Delta to move. Charlie is going to be my foremost team, so that's 4-9 and 4-4. Delta is going to be the, who do we got here? Lanchneck and Rockneck. So 4-9 at that point, you would call covering.
Covering.
Delta moving.
Yep. Rockneck,
That's
since
covering.
you've done this before, I want Lanchneck to take the comms.
Roger.
Question on their
Cover.
movement when they got to cover. So Rockneck got there first. He said cover. Do we wait for Lanchneck to get set?
Nope. As soon as you hear covering, you say moving and start moving.
Make sure you stand up when you move.
And make sure you call
Moving.
moving so they know. You guys that just went through, if you want to watch too.
Landy, you're going to be more focused on the forward and left threat as Rocknack has that right flank.
Covering.
Roger.
Second
Moving.
one, weapon bug.
So while they're going around this room, what about the center catwalk?
Fusion, let them focus on their drills, mate, and we can sort that out.
Covering.
Moving.
Morgan, do you want to drop back to the observation point where the other guys were, so you don't confuse their drills?
Covering.
Six to 3 moving.
So Lanchneck, you would say Charlie or Delta moving or just moving.
Covering.
But that's fine.
User in your channel timed out.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
I'm going to pause it there.
Yep.
Just real quick to answer your question, Fusion. As you move through an area, depending on your squad size, the more guns you have, the more angles you can cover. Sometimes you will be in CQB situations where you can't cover absolutely everything. Think about a street, how many windows, how many doors, how many murder holes there are moving through it. You are going to point your weapon system at the biggest threat that is relative to your position. And if you have multiple threats relative to your position, the only way you're going to make safe that location is by moving through it at best pace whilst remaining in formation and moving with the rest of your guys. You just need to have faith that the guys in front of you and the guys behind you are covering different arcs, and if there is an opening on the right and an opening on the left, if two guns are focusing right, then one of those guns should switch to focusing left.
That makes sense to everybody?
Yeah, just filling in the gaps.
Pretty much, yeah. All right, cool. We've had a chance to run through it in fire teams. Fuck. It's easier to take
I'll
for a
take
sec.
it for you.
Chiming in right now.
I'll take it for you. Okay, guys. So what I want you to do now is all of you stack up on this wall here. I'm facing. I've turned my flash on. Okay, so you were using Charlie and Delta before, and that can be really convenient with a 4-man team. However, with a Marine squad, typically you're going to be about 8 guys, and Charlie and Delta will be 4 people. So you'll be moving and bounding in pairs. So now I want you to forget the terminology Charlie and Delta, because you are only ever going to be operating as a pair unless you get full sent into a room to deal with a threat that needs a lot of bodies to secure that room. So all that I'm going to get you guys to do right now is 4-4 and Amsnek. You guys are going to simulate a breach into this area here. You're going to do the whole left clear, right clear, complex room front. Recommend bounding advance. That's what we're going to do, and then we're going to simulate a squad bounding maneuver, taking that same race car track loop that we just did then, but the difference is now we are taking from the rear. So every single time someone's moving, it's going to come from the rear of the formation. So when you're on the rear, you will also be taking up like kind of the rear guard scenario as well. So Rocknack, you'll be looking up to this elevator. Exactly that. Okay, your pairs during a combat scenario may also not be the same pair that you finish with. Think about casualties, think about situations where somebody is in a firefight and someone else is needed to be grabbed and moved around in the squad. The squad needs to be like water. You need to be fluid and with your situation. combat is dynamic. It is not going to fit with the exact fire team and pair that you always have. That's more of a later consideration, but start thinking about it now. In this instance, you're not going to be in contact, so you are just going to move through in pairs. So, 4-4, Amsnek, breach that corner.
Pair to breach.
Set.
Breaching. Right clear.
Left clear.
Next up, complex room. Advise bounding.
Roger that. Next pair, bound right. So the senior or the point man of that pair then states moving, and then you're underway. So Memphis, you are next in the stack, so you are going to be taking on the bounding.
Oh, copy that. I thought it was rear. Moving.
No, you're correct. Sorry, pause there real quick. You are correct in that, but when the stack is starting off, we move through the stack, but when we're cycling through, it comes from the rear. So, for example, these two, they're the last in the stack based on when everyone else has cycled through, so they'll be the next to go through when we reach the end of the chain. Does that make sense? Cool.
All right. Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
There's 3 people moving there. Is that because you're an odd number right now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. So just take up cover nearby them. Okay,
Covering.
so now we are at the end of the squad's manpower capability. So we reached all the way back to 4-4 and Amsnek, and they move forwards.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Logan, your last man.
Good call.
Check fire. Covering.
Last man moving.
Just say that you're moving. You're always going to be the last man.
Okay.
Although you do say that in patrol formations.
Yeah, that's where I got it from. Covering.
Moving.
Ultra 7-1 is moving on its own, so pause real quick for me there, 7-1. In an incident where you see somebody moving on their own, this is when somebody that is at the rear should tag onto that. So, for example, Rocknack, you know that you're a spare man, right? So if you saw 7-1 leading off and there was nobody following him, you could see that as an opportunity to latch onto him and reinforce the bound that's going forward without compromising the squad security, because you are an extra man in that position. Does that make sense?
Roger.
So move up and catch up with them. Make sure you stood up. Alright, carry on, 7-1.
Covering. Did it not go through? Covering.
Yeah, no, it did.
Amsnek.
Always from the rear of the formation.
Should sit out when we're behind us.
Moving.
Yeah, exactly. So you see how we're moving with a 3 right now. This is more of an advanced consideration, but a third man, the spare wheel in the squad essentially, can attach to a breaching pair
Covering.
and become a shadow of one in that breaching pair or one of that
Moving.
bounding pair.
So just a question about the like a third person. They can pretty much just be a shadow to a breaching pair, and also just like be like that filler gap for bounding.
Yep, exactly. They won't say any comms. They won't say any comms at all. They'll just go one up. Well, one up is potentially one they might use.
7-1.
I apologize, guys.
All right. Pause it there, guys. Okay, so that is a squad bounding maneuver. So we breached into the corner. The breaching pair identified a complex room, and as squad leader, I agreed with the recommendation that we are to go into a bounding maneuver, and the squad cycled through that bounding maneuver, and we kind of went in that race car track as we went around. Now, I wasn't picking you up on use of cover or being aware of potential hiding areas. Like, for example, I know a bounding pair didn't check behind this corner. This is definitely going to be a hiding spot for Op 4. If we're ever testing you in live fire PvP scenarios, they love to hide behind these types of things. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you are bounding through an area, just have a quick peek. And if you spot a threshold in the process of doing that, then back up and say, threshold front, and that will then switch the tactic from bounding into what?
Breaching.
Okay, so I think that was
Breaching.
our group. So when Mulligan moved up, he moved up right here.
Yeah,
For
but he didn't
me,
clear behind
I should move up right behind here.
Yeah. Well, either one or the other. Someone should clear it out. Doesn't matter who.
But essentially, it's a gap. It needs to be looked at.
Yes.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking back to that PvP exercise we did, I want to say last Thursday, aboard the big larger ship. I forget what it's called.
Carrack?
Yeah. So it was the A90 jump. And then so there's that one room. It's like the bedroom area where there's just a bunch of different doors all over. There's like 7 or 8 doors.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to breach into that room, would you have to clear every single one of those doors one at a time?
So there's a tactic for that, and it's called Simultaneous Breach. And it's where you arrange multiple pairs or multiple fire teams to execute a simultaneous breach. So one pair breaches left, another pair breaches right, another pair breaches forwards. And you can control a multiple threat area like that, but that's something we teach in advanced CQB training.
655 constantly use the bathroom.
So if, let's say, the bounding got to this threshold and it was a breach, who would commence the breach? Would it be the team that discovered the threshold, or would it be the team at the rear of the squad? Who is controlling this threshold right now?
The team nearest.
The team nearest, right? So if enemy were to emerge from this, they would have their guns on that, ready to engage. So with that to mind, who might be the best to breach this room? What pair?
Right now, Fusion and 4-9.
Right, so at the rear of the formation. It wouldn't be the end of the world if that bounding pair were sent in to do the breach, but it just means you've got an extra layer of security. Okay, and that's going to be the squad's leader's consideration, though. The squad leader could argue that actually I think it's more dangerous because I've got more bodies there and I want to keep my guys spaced out, so I'm going to have that pair go through the breach because maybe he has a pair where 7-1 is. Maybe he's happy with that. So it's down to the squad leaders to make that call, and it is going to be every squad leader will have a slightly different way that they approach a threat, and it is down to the squad leader to make those decisions. Now, in a debrief, you can say, I thought maybe it would have been safer to do this or it's safer to do that, and you can kind of discuss back and forth that. But what you always need to respect in a combat scenario is that a decision needs to be made. It's not always going to be the right decision, but it needs to be a decision. And as Marines, you need to support that decision. You are the squad supporting your squad leader. A squad that suddenly starts debating or getting frustrated over a decision in the middle of a contact scenario is going to end up with more casualties than if that maneuver was just carried out. You can discuss that at a later time. So you need to respect the battlefield, respect the chain of command in that instance. If you had a better call, you can make that later on. My veteran Marines might shout up and say, hey, watch out, you've got a XYZ to be aware of in this situation. And that squad leader would be happy as pie to receive that. As a junior Marine squad, there may be some thinking that he has to go with that decision, and you just need to respect that and move through it. So it's not a case of You can never make an impact on the tactical situation, but you need to respect that there is a squad leader and he will make a decision. It may not always be the right decision, but you need to support that decision.
So when we moved in, and we took that position, do we call that? So if I take this position here and I look at that and I see, oh, that needs to be checked, do I just take it upon myself, or do I call that I'm going to check it?
So if you were up here and you had already called covering, and you see a bounding pair doing this, looking like they're going to go past it, you can say, hey, 3-2, be advised, opening right, can you check that?
I see.
And he goes, Roger. Yes, clear.
Okay,
Covering.
one question.
Yep.
So I think this kind of overlaps with what Chumps just asked. So that threshold is roughly a third of the way through the room. So how would you... So would you go into breaching to go and clear that new threshold, or would you continue around the room? Is there still the rest of the room to be cleared?
Yeah, good question, and that is down to the mission, right? So if your mission is to sweep the entire bunker from tip to toe, then you are going to methodically breach and clear through every area of that upper area before you move on to the lower area. Now, if your mission is to reach a server room in the quickest possible time to stop something from blowing up and to go into this service tunnel down here would add an extra 5-10 minutes onto your clearance, then you would cross that threshold by slicing the pie as you moved past it, or keeping security on that threshold as the rest of the team bound past you.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
No worries.
7-1.
This isn't a threshold, by the way. This is just me saying, what if there was a threshold here? I would not consider this a threshold. Yep, 7-1.
One of the guys, when they were the last man up, since we were peeling from the back to the front, they said moving, and then they called to the team now that was back as they were past them, saying you are last man. Is that something you're supposed to do, or is that just?
It's not always. So, for example, if the squad is actively moving through a bound, maybe one of the guys on rear is focusing somewhere else, and he doesn't quite realize that he's last man.
The last group moved, but as they passed the second to last, which was now becoming last, they called out, "You are now the last team."
I think how you saying that they passed a team that wasn't quite.
Okay, so if you and 3-7 were the second to last team, and me and 4-9
off
are the
comms,
last
2 minutes.
team.
Right. Yep.
So I would go, okay, moving, and I'm going past, and I'd go 2-0. You're now last.
Right. No, that would be incorrect because we wouldn't be last.
I get what you're saying. If nobody else exists and it's just us as the second to last pair, and you guys are the last, and you pass us, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you could do that. The bigger thing is you are probably going to be more aware of that yourself. Whenever I'm doing bounding or anything like that, I just kind of keep in mind of where I am in the stick. So if I know I'm the second to last, and I see people move past me, then I just might take a quick peek over my shoulder and shift to rear guard anyway. At that point, I know I'm the last pair. But what you're saying, especially for newer guys, yeah, you could absolutely do that. If you know you're the last pair and you're bounding through the stick, you could tell the guys in front of you, hey, you guys are last, or you can say, hey, what I would probably do instead is if I'm last team bounding and I bound through 2-0 and you, I would say 2-0, jump on rear guard. That just kind of lets him know, oh, I'm the last guy. That's why he's telling me to jump on rear guard.
Okay, I was just wondering, because one of the teams did.
Yeah, no, definitely. In a veteran Marine squad, even in a veteran Marine squad, if they're locked in, like, fucking with whatever's going on over there, it's like running past someone and tapping them on the shoulder, but we can't tap each other on the shoulder, so we just say, hey, 7-1, you're last man, or 7-1, last man.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, cool. Good point. Cool, guys. So we're running a little behind on time. I'm sorry about that. We're going to kind of keep moving through, so.
I think these guys are ready to practice moving through.
Do a dry run?
Yeah. So, guys,
Cool.
you've now been taught breaching. You breach the threshold, right? When you think there's a threshold, call it out. Describe it to your squad leader if you're not quite sure. Complex room for anything that doesn't have an obvious, like, square wall. You know, you can't identify it as a singular room. It's a large open area. So what we're going to practice now is moving through your breaching and putting it into practice. And what we're not looking for here, I'm not going to pick. I'm not going to pick up your choice of cover.
You're becoming a robot.
How's that? Is that any better?
Yep.
Yeah, so we're just looking at, you understand the processes. Do you understand when to call a breach? Do you understand when to call a bound? Do you have the right comms for it? And can you cycle through in your position in the squad correctly? That's all we're looking for. Try not to get locked in with too much further complexities in your head. This is foundation training, right? CQB foundation training. We're making sure you have the tools for the job. Advanced CQB runs people through even more complex scenarios and stuff like that. Or NAVSEC training, or if you've got your blue phase ticks and you want to come along to those to kind of run through those discussions, you're welcome to do so. So if everyone reverses to the elevator now, Bled will become your squad leader, and he will basically make the call for you guys to breach and bound, and neither me nor Blood are necessarily going to stop you from choosing a point of cover unless it goes ridiculously beyond what your squad should be doing.
Yep. Big thing, like Tycho said, tactical considerations, throw those aside. I want you guys just to think about where you're taking up cover. Focus on your comms. Focus on the transition between breaching and bounding and back and forth. So breaching, we're clearing, and we're calling that it's clear, and we're doing what we have to do with that. Bounding, we're covering, and we're moving. And you can transition back and forth. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and stack up. Squads of 4 on each side. I will have you guys breach in pairs.
There's a extra person.
Yeah, that's fine. Just slot in on either side. Maybe take up Delta or Charlie. It don't matter. Either one. Cool. So, 4-4. Whenever you're ready, breach the first room.
All right. Preparing to breach.
Set.
Breaching. Left clear.
Right clear. Next pair up.
Preventer breach.
Where's the exit, Memphis?
Oh, threshold right. Wide.
Next pair up. Move on up and breach that next room.
7-1 moving.
Moving.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breach. Complex room. Recommend bounding Overwatch.
Is it clear?
Right, clear.
Is the left clear?
Left clear.
Yep, we got a complex room ahead. I want you guys to bound in fire team pairs. So we're going to bound to the right. Foremost pair to cover, rearmost pair to move. Rearmost would be Outlaw, 4-9, and Landsknecht. Foremost pair would start covering.
Okay, so you want Landsknecht and 4-9 to move?
Yep, you guys are the last pair.
Covering.
When I'm moving.
Renegade, you're last man.
User disconnected from your channel.
Covering.
Moving.
So Morgan and Fusion, as 7-1 has pushed up to that position, you need to support him by pushing up to those boxes. Otherwise, you're just leaving him exposed by himself. So as there's 3 of you, Fusion, you could pick
3-1,
that
check
catwalk.
right.
4-7, you could pick this.
Could you say again? Someone said something.
Look at the catwalk. There's 3 of you, right? There's 3 areas of threat: left, right, and front. You can take the front. He takes the right. He takes the left.
Right in 3-1. There was a spot you missed here. It was on your right as you passed it.
Make sure to shorten those comms up because you're not going to have that much time to talk to someone in a contact
Apologies.
situation. So 4-9, just say, "Hey, you, opening right."
I said that initially, but it was covered by comms.
Just say it again.
3-1, opening right.
Do I go back to check it?
Well, so do something. Acknowledge him at least.
Okay. Moving to check. Clear. Cover.
Covering was called, so the last pair moves.
User joined your
Moving.
channel.
4-4 in Memphis.
Check fire.
Memphis, your Oppo is moving.
He disconnected.
Ah, okay. Mulligan, slot in with 4-4.
Look up.
Covering.
Complex room left. Complex room right.
Complex or threshold?
Threshold right.
Threshold.
All right, last pair. I want you to breach and clear that threshold.
Last pair.
It'd be Fusion and 7-1.
7-1 in Trident 4-9.
Moving.
Fuck.
Six throw your rear guard.
What the fuck?
I'm just trying to remember something. Hold on.
Prepare to.
No, it's what side I go to.
What side are you
Doesn't
on?
no, it doesn't matter. Don't think about that. You go whichever side you want.
Okay. Preparing to breach.
Set.
Breaching. Right side clear.
Left side clear.
Any exits?
Dead end.
Just say no exits, and then how many coming out?
Two friendlies coming out.
Cool. Now you guys can take up cover positions.
Covering.
Moving.
Nice. Good awareness, 4-9.
Covering.
Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving.
This time, guys, I want us to go down into the bunker.
So this is a threshold you guys are coming up to.
The stairs?
Yep.
Yep.
Because you can draw a line across it, right?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Alright. Threshold front. Stairs.
Yep. Foremost pair, go ahead and breach that threshold.
4-4-1 up.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching.
Stand up when you do it, command.
Right clear.
Left clear.
Threshold front.
So in that scenario, what would your next course of action be, you think?
Next up.
Yep. So last pair, move up and breach that threshold.
Moving. Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching. I said clear. Complex room. Recommend bounding.
Fusion, what's really important about this side?
Over here. Left side clear.
Cool. Good comms on the complex room. That means you recognized that was a bigger area. So complex room was called. So you guys have been bounding. You switched back to breaching. Now we're going to bound again. So guys, we got a complex room ahead. I want you guys to breach to the left. Foremost pair to cover, rearmost pair to move.
Recommend bound
Moving.
instead of breach. There's nothing to really breach.
Did I say breach?
Rock
Yeah, you
neck,
did.
your last
Sorry.
man.
4
Okay,
north.
so
You're
sorry,
gonna
we're
bound into
bounding.
it. Yep.
We're bounding.
Yeah, that's my mistake. I meant to say bounding.
Okay, Roger. Moving. Covering.
Moving.
Okay, even if the squad leader said to go left and the other pair has bounded off to the right instead, you've got 2 ways of going about this. Obviously, you could continue to move in that track motion, and 4-9 and Landy, you guys will need to peel yourselves back into the formation by becoming the rear guard at some point. But yeah, the squad leader said to go left.
I didn't hear that,
4-7 to
Roger.
reverb.
Covering.
Back to my position now that Rockneck's back.
4-9, Landy, what you two could do is you could peel back to reinforce Fusion and 7-1.
Roger.
Back.
Go ahead and call covering again, foremost pair.
Covering. Next team, check left.
Moving.
So Snek, as that area left hasn't been covered, I recommend you keep your gun trained on it and rely on Rockneck to cover your right.
Covering.
Second last team.
Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. 4-9 with me. Rockneck, last man. Covering.
Moving. Threshold left.
Copy that. Last pair, I want you to breach and clear that threshold front.
Good call, Snake.
Moving. Pair to breach.
Set.
Breaching.
So Fusion, just a consideration for you. You saw the last pair bound through you. Might be good to take up rear guard.
4-4. Looking at this entrance here that you just passed, do you think that could be regarded as a separate room?
Yeah, it's a threshold.
Complex room. 3 directions. Front, left.
What's more important about what's in this room?
Threshold left.
No. What's the primary piece of information your squad leader needs to know?
So let's just say you guys just initiated your breach.
Oh, room clear. Threshold left.
Is it clear?
Complex room.
What am I, Morgan? What potentially could I be from this position?
Hiding.
Yeah. So continue clearing on this side. I understand why you made the call for complex room here, but I would argue that this is one room with a divide here.
Okay.
You don't have to do a full walk around, but you just clear out to the side on the right, because you could see there was a back wall to that, right? 47.
Yeah.
So that's
Right.
why I would say that this is a room 2 people could clear, because there is no additional complexity beyond just this cube here that you just need to check behind. That's all you need to do.
Right clear.
So, question on this: would I pause? Would I stop here
Yes.
and let him continue up the back?
Exactly.
Yep, I was actually going to commend you on that because you kind of recognize that this is a threshold. I don't want to cross it, and you kind of stopped shy of that. So, good job, Codex.
So, just so I'm clear too, I want to understand this. So, 4-4 stopped correct. 4-7 came to this location on the right, but it's not necessarily a threshold.
It's not a
Because-
complex room.
It's not a complex room, I see.
Yeah, because you see how you can see this back wall?
Yes,
It's not that far for him to come out and clear this area, because he's only got to check behind this console.
I understand. Okay.
Let me just show you real quick. So 4-4 and I breached. I come in. He's set up where he's at. If
Right.
I'm on the right side and I'm clearing the right side of the room, I'm going to pop around here. I'm going to see that that's a wall. I'm going to continue to clear this way. And then where I naturally end up is in a split breach.
Or potentially looking through the window there.
Yep, if you could shoot through this, I could take up a position here. That kind of thing. So,
Oh, I see. Okay, so technically, Codex can actually see that whole left side.
yeah,
So even though it's a
I see.
new room and it's a threshold, he can still see into the threshold. So he's still got covering of 4-7 as he moves down this.
You see where I'm crouched though, jumps? This is
Yeah.
why it's another threshold, right? It's a possible enemy position.
Hiding spot. Okay, yeah. That
it
makes
goes
sense.
back to what I said about we never cross thresholds. We always breach them. So
Right.
that's why
right.
4-4 made the right call.
Okay, that's
with
cool.
with Mulgan though, where he's at, he's able to kind of safely do so because 4-4's rifles on that threshold. But
On that threshold.
But he
Right.
Good
wouldn't need to go all the way around. Like, Morgan, you could, at this corner here, you could call right clear here.
Yep.
You wouldn't need to go
Alright.
all the way around.
Gotcha.
Because
And that
we're
way
So
you
working
just
to the other
straight
side.
down, call clear.
at the end.
So it'd be right clear.
If it's clear.
Yeah, you
And I
wouldn't
just
need to
move
do it.
over here.
To be honest, Morgan, I wouldn't, if I was you, looking at the fact that there's a threshold with line of sight to your position, I would rather you didn't go there at all. I would rather you came back and observed this threshold from behind the cover. Reason being is look where I am still in this door here.
Ah,
Oh,
I
wow.
see.
Yeah.
You got good sight on.
Okay.
Interesting.
Cool.
Gotcha.
So 4-4 called threshold front. You guys called the room was clear. Next pair, rearmost pair, I want you to breach and clear the next threshold.
6-3 off comms, 60 seconds.
7-1, moving. Prepare breach.
Set.
Breaching. Left side clear.
Right side clear.
Okay. Did you need to go all the way up to that door to call right side clear, Fusion?
NB.
Reason why I'm asking is you have cover back here, right? To look down into that door. That threshold is an area with potential enemy behind it. And if you push up to that doorway, there's less between the enemy and you. So if you have the opportunity to call out an area being clear without pushing all the way next to a door, I know in previous demonstrations we've said to do that, but if you can visibly see all the way to the end, this would be a much safer place for you to stop where I'm crouched.
Maybe here.
Yeah, all there.
Reason is 7-1's able to safely move up this side and call his side clear so he can see if there's anybody behind this little cubby hole. Does that make sense? Not that you did it wrong, but just something to consider.
Okay. Before you go into the next area and start teaching individual bounding, and using that stepping stone. I'm going to be stepping away from training at this time, guys. So far, good job on taking on board the skills and drills. Continue to put it into practice, and there's one final tool that Lance Corporal Blood is about to teach you in this next room, and potentially moving on to a PvP phase to cement it all over. But so far so good. Remember, it's not necessarily about the tactics, it's about learning the skills and drills here today, and then in the squad moving through PvP scenarios and advanced circumstances. That's where we do tactics discussions. It's always done at the end of the firefight, so we're not creating just an argument in the middle of a battlefield kind of thing. Alright, so with that, keep up the training. I will catch up with you guys later on.
Thanks for sticking up with us.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.
Cool. So what I want at this point is for everybody to kind of coalesce inside of this room that Fusion Core and 7-1 are in. Fusion and 7-1, you guys kind of maintain your positions. Just kind of hang out. You can also look through the glass here on the side. This is the last part of what we're going to kind of teach tonight. It's pretty brief.
Weapons tight?
You can... calculate. You can have them, on safe. So at this point, Fusion or 7-1 called that there's a room clear and that there's a threshold front. So something I want to kind of run you through is a different type of complex room. These server rooms, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the inside. There's a lot of little cubby holes and things like that. There's a particular way that we can kind of clear this room a lot safer than just breaching and clearing or just bounding through it, right? It's a different type of bounding. It's individual bounding. So what I'll do is I will have Rockneck, you've done this before. You are going to assist me in this. So if you guys can kind of, let's see, I want you guys to come in here and put your backs up against this wall that I'm standing on. And Rockneck, you can kind of hang out outside. Just kind of look into the server area. So what would happen is 7-1 called that the room's clear, that there's a threshold front, next pair up, that kind of thing. Say that I am the point man of that pair, and Rockneck is my second. We move up, so we'll just run through it. Rockneck, if you want to step back and slot in behind me. Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breach. Right clear.
Recommend individual bounding, complex room.
Yep. So, even though I stopped here, the reason I stopped here is I can immediately tell that this room's a clusterfuck, right? So, I'm breaching. I'm still going to clear where I'm at. I'm just going to stop shy. What I might do as a point man or point woman is say, complex room, recommend individual bound. What I'll say is, I'll cover, you move. And then I'll say covering. Rockneck would say moving, and he would dart directly across into the cubby hole straight ahead of us. So Rockneck, if you want to cover where I was just standing.
Yep.
Rockneck calls complex room, recommend individual bounding. I cover, you move. He says covering. So say covering, Rockneck.
Covering.
Moving. So this is the only time that I'll say you can cross the threshold, right? And that's just because you need to sprint to get into your position. From this cubby hole, Rockneck is where he's at, basically. He's able to know that the one directly across and the next one up is clear. So it's safe for me to just dart into here, relatively. From my position, on this corner, I can then clear the cubby that's directly ahead of Rockneck. I would say covering. Rockneck would say moving, and he would move to the next cubby. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
So what I want you guys to notice is when Rockneck moved like that, he didn't do this. He didn't go moving and then turn and clear that cubby hole. The reason is I've already cleared it from him from across the room. He knows that there's nothing in there. So it makes more sense for his gun to be up on the next thing to cover. So he just can move forward and put his back straight into it, still keep his weapon in the firefight. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Oh, copy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Roger.
So Rockneck called covering. I say moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving.
At that point, Rockneck can see that the room is clear. You can
Left
say
clear.
room clear, no exits, 2 friendlies coming out. That's effectively how you would individually bound. So you guys have done bounding by fire team pairs. You guys have even done bounding by fire teams. You can break it all the way down to bounding by individuals. So that's just 1 person covering and 1 person moving. That's how you clear this room. There's probably other ways you could do it, but that's just kind of how we do it. Makes the most sense because it just is what it is. We know that there's a lot of different little hidey holes in this, so
Yeah.
if one of us happened to go down, we could just send in another guy to fill in the slot. Any questions on that?
I do have one question.
Shoot.
If Point Man was to go down, would the second in that take up Point Man?
Yeah, and that would be down to a QBO. If Rockneck was right there, say, and I'm over here, and Rockneck went down for some reason, he would call man down. I would say somebody get in there and relieve Rockneck. Somebody take his positions. Somebody from the previous room would just move up and take his slot. That kind of boils down to on-the-fly decisions that maybe your 2IC that's in the previous room will say, hey, Snake, get in there and fill in for Rockneck. So you don't have to worry too much about that. That's more of a consideration that your 2IC or 1IC will just tell somebody, hey, get in there and fucking help out, you know. So, but good question. Every 2IC or 1IC might do that differently.
All right.
Cool. So we are going to practice this. So everybody want to pop out into the previous room, get into pairs. I want you to breach into the doorway and then call your sides clear. Say that there is a complex room and recommend individual bounding. Me to cover, you to move, or however you want to do it. You to cover, I'll move. Something along those lines. But the big thing is left clear, right clear, complex room, recommend individual bounding. And then that person that's saying that is going to decide who's going to cover and who's going to move. And then you guys execute bounding.
4-7 outcomes, 2 minutes.
So that's 4-9 and 4-4. You guys go ahead.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breach. Right clear.
1 up. Complex room. Recommend individual bounding.
Roger. Do we wait for our squad lead to say something? Blood?
Yeah, you can. Yep, go ahead and do that. Execute it.
So you move across or I move across?
So
You're
first you need to decide who's doing what.
Okay, alright.
So in my situation, if I'm making the call that it is a complex room and I'm letting that known, I might just be like, once I hear that it's okay to do so, I'll just say, Chomps, you cover, I'll move. Just as quick as that.
Within that room, it's dependent on who has the most cover. For example, if you've done the other bunkers, guys, and you've gone into that room, the left side has no cover or no way to cover the other person. So the person who is in the most cover and is able to cover the other person moving is the one covering.
So I'm forward mode, so I can call cover right here.
Yeah, you're already in cover where you're at, so it makes more sense for you to cover rather than you to step out and have Codex take your slot. So the other thing is, with what you're doing right now, you're not concerned with this part of the room. Your only concern is this part of the room.
The angle I have. Okay.
Yep. Cool. So go ahead and do the comms of complex room, recommend individual bounding by pairs, or individual bounding.
Complex room, recommend individual bounding.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yep, go ahead. You guys execute.
Yep. Chomps, you cover, I'll move.
Cover.
Moving. Moving. Covering.
Moving. Cover.
Moving.
4-7 backup comms.
Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
End of room, clear. 2 friendlies, exiting.
Couple things. Right idea, but comms were a little bit off. What I would say is room clear, exits if there are any, and then maybe 2 coming out.
Okay. So room clear.
Sorry.
There is no exit, right? So room clear,
Yep.
no exit, and then two friendly coming out, or just 2 exit, 2 coming out.
You can say 2 coming out. Either way. Different strokes.
Roger.
The big thing is for you guys to remember is your comms are important for that kind of thing because you're letting me know what's going on.
Right. Okay. That makes
All in
sense.
all, good job. Let's get 2 other people. I don't care who it is. Do the same thing. 671 and Landsknecht. Whenever you guys are ready.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching.
Left side clear.
Right side clear. Got a flex room. Recommend individual banding.
Yep, go ahead.
Moving.
Covering.
Let's reset. So, Landsknecht, what do you think you did wrong there?
Jumped for starters.
Well, yeah, more so with what happened. So you moved before anybody was covering. Does that make sense? So consideration there is you never want to move until you know it's relatively safe to do so. So you guys did good comms at the front. What I would say is assign who's doing what and then execute. So go ahead and start from individual bounding. So you just cleared the room.
Okay. I'm going to bound forward. Prepare to breach.
Nope. You guys will call complex room, recommend individual bounding, and then go ahead and divvy up who's going to do what, and then execute.
Roger. Complex room. Recommend individual bounding.
Yep, knock it out.
Prepare to breach.
Are you breaching or are you bounding?
Preparing to move.
So you'll say, I'll cover, you move.
I'll cover, you move.
Yep. And then you'll call covering.
Covering.
Moving.
And Blood, just a little item on that. So, does
Hang
it
on
matter?
a sec, let them run through it.
Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Room clear. No exits. 2 friendlies coming out.
All right, good job. I know it gets a little convoluted, kind of switching your mind from breaching to bounding and back and forth, so not a big deal, Landsknecht, but it just kind of comes with practice, so good job, guys. Next 2 people, knock it out. Take it from the top of breaching. Chomps, what was your question?
So, does it matter who calls the setup there? Like when they call the complex room, or should it be the second person into the room?
Not necessarily, right? So typically the way that we... Ah, shit. Kid's crying again. Sky, can you take over?
Yep, so what was the question again?
So essentially, like when we're set up like that, when me and Codex did it, Codex called it back up. But does it matter? Is there a specific format for who calls that back to the squad lead?
Well, the fact that's a complex room.
Right, complex room and the
really.
recommendation.
Not really. It's the person who can normally see the most. So, for example, in the top room, where only one person can ever see if that's a complex room, the other person is normally behind a wall. The person who can see the most, which will be known by both people, so you can see where your upper is, see what you see, will call the most. But in that room, because you can essentially both see that it's a complex room, it doesn't matter. And if you talk over each other, that's fine. It's going to happen. You just need to get that comms out. So if you start talking, you realise the other person starts talking just before you, just stop. But in general, as long as someone's giving that information, it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Would you say it's best to just kind of? Would you say it's best to kind of think of it like a contact call, just get it out?
Yes. You need to get that information out. I've just crashed. I'll be back in a second. Yeah. So we'll have you guys go in a second. It's just a contact. It's essentially just in any situation with a marine staff. It's just get the information out. If you haven't been acknowledged, wait a couple of seconds if you have that time, and then once the conversation's died down, like for example, let's say you're fighting, your squad is also breaching another room. It's a small room. We know this. They're breaching. They're going through their comms, and your comms are getting muddled down. With all that stuff, it's if you cannot physically get your words out, wait a couple of seconds till there's a lull in the talking, and then send something. Because if your squad leader doesn't hear you, they won't acknowledge you, and if your squad leader doesn't acknowledge you, you need to give that information again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So get it out as soon as possible. If you don't get acknowledged, say it again.
Are we clear to go, or would you like us to wait?
I'd like you to wait. Sorry, I am.
No worries.
I am just logging back in. Is my body still there for everyone?
Yeah, I still see your pink glow stick.
One black blood. This guy crashed.
Oh, okay. I can jump back in. You guys know what you're doing, Rockneck and Sneck?
Yes, hopefully.
Cool, go ahead.
Preparing to breach.
Set.
Breaching. Right, clear.
Left clear.
Complex room, recommending individual bounding.
Go ahead.
I'll cover, you move. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Room clear, no exits, 2 friendlies coming out.
That was perfect. Good job, guys.
There's one last.
Next 2 people,
there.
go ahead.
No, I'm one of them.
Here, I can breach with you.
Anybody else? Yeah. All right, whenever you guys are ready.
Here, you take lead.
I'm trying to get to the documents which closed on me. Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching. Complex room, recommend individual bounding.
Cool, good call. Go ahead and do it.
You cover.
Covering.
Move. Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Clear room, no exits, 2 friendlies. Oh, leaving.
Nice. All right. Couple things there. Mulgan, I know you kind of hesitated on what that one call was on I'll cover you move or something like that. That's fine. But I'll say Sneck, that was good improvisation to kind of jump in there and help out by just saying like, hey, I'll cover you move or whatever. But yeah, good job, guys. So did everybody have a chance to run through it? Nobody got left out? Cool. That's kind of the gist of Blue Phase, right? You guys at this point have learned how to breach, you've learned how to transition to bounding and how to bound, and you've learned how to transition back to breaching. Also learned individual bounding. So that's kind of the gist of Blue Phase. It's comms heavy. That's why a lot of us might shut down some of the thought of tactical considerations, just because that can kind of lead down a road where it just makes the night drag on a little bit. A lot of that stuff will come into play in Red Phase or Advanced Blues, especially Advanced Blues. But the big thing to take away from tonight is learning those comms. That's the foundation for everything. So good job. Now, question. I know it's late for some of you. I know it's a U.S. time zone thing. Do you guys want to call it here? Do you want to do a small little PvP portion? How are you guys all feeling?
Personally, I'd like to go to bed. That's just me.
You'd like to what?
Good to go.
I'm going to go for PvP if anyone wants to stick around for that.
Like, I'm here just so I can get my blue phase tick for Wednesday, because it's like 3 AM for me, but so I want to go to bed as soon as possible.
You would need to do PvP to get your blue face tick.
Well, in that case, I guess I'm doing PvP.
All right.
I'm pretty sure Sneck, you've already got your blue face tick.
Not for Renegade.
I thought you came to the last one we did. Oh, you hopped out halfway through, didn't you?
I didn't even know that was a training. I don't even think I was Gold Phase certified. I was still a recruit. I think. I don't even know. Regardless.
We'll knock out a PvP portion. So, Sky, do you want to take down the Comrade?
Can do. Chomps
Or,
on
I don't know. I haven't heard from... Oh, yeah, Chomps, I see you.
I'm
you
here.
do that for
I
us?
can go up and get my ship and do it.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Cool. So I will break you guys down into Op 4 or Blue 4. Let's, everybody else, let's head toward the elevator. We're going to head outside. For this portion, for the PvP portion, it's going to be even less hands-off than the dry run just was. I'm not going to critique you guys on anything other than maybe I'll say, hey, your comms are off. Fix your comms, something like that. It's going to be live fire. Op 4 is going to be a little light on you guys, but they will try to kill you at the same time if you fuck up bad enough. So stay in cover, do what you got to do, and get through this fairly quickly so you guys can go to bed. It's going to be a full run from top to bottom.
Rapknack, are you staying?
Yeah, I'm staying.
Do you want to do me a favor?
Yeah?
How comfortable are you with your blue face stuff?
Pretty comfortable.
You're on Op 4 then.
Okay.
So we're going to just start from the elevator for time's sake.
Okay.
We'll just go up so that Sky, or
Oh, no,
so that
Rapknack,
Chomps can get out.
fucking stole on my Op 4, buddy.
I didn't.
I sent it early. That's my fault.
No. It's
My
Buzz
son's
stole
got a
him.
toy drill and he's sticking it in my hip right now, so.
I'll send it back up after I go down.
Right. Sweet.
Question: how long does this phase usually last?
15 to 20 minutes at the most.
Okay, it should be fine. I'm not gonna pass out.
Yeah, same here.
If
Hopefully.
you do, I'll jack you with some adrenaline.
Right, I'm gonna take Rocknack to Team 1 War Games.
I can feel my eyelids sagging.
User left your channel.
Take a drill on my side.
Those meds aren't in the game yet. That's 315.
Oh no,
I don't
I mean
have
I'm gonna
drug code,
drive
Rocknack, I'm down.
to your house in real life and I'm gonna stick you with adrenaline.
That,
Please, do me like Uma Thurman.
So we're just gonna wait real quick for 4-9 to take the comm array down and for Op 4 to get set up. Normally, guys, there'd be a lot more of a turnout, but since this is a U.S. time zone thing, there's less people. So what I'm gonna have Op 4 do is not necessarily shoot to kill. They're not gonna go full-on PvP mode on you, but they will turn up the difficulty a little bit more than normal. So just pay attention to your cover and take it slow and steady.
So are you doing a full squad?
Say that again, sorry.
Are we doing a full squad breach or full squad clearing?
With considerations, I'll have you guys do it in pairs. If we did a full squad breach, you guys would probably wipe them out in one little quick go, and then it'd be a dry run again. So I'll give up for a little bit of a fighting chance. And just for time's sake, we're gonna start at the bottom of the elevator. I'm not gonna have you breach the stuff since we know it's clear.
Alright, I guess we'll wait for
Yeah, we'll
Chomps.
just see if Chomps shows up.
Wait, so Op 4 isn't shooting to kill, are we shooting to kill?
You guys are shooting to kill.
So make sure you have your ICU set on the Cuddy Red.
Yeah, if you guys aren't sure, go double check that real quick.
there seems to be another Cuddy Red, I think. This guy took it down, and it's closer.
Yeah,
It
could
won't
be.
matter.
If you want to set it on that one too, you can set it on that one too.
Just don't die.
Yep.
Yeah, I died walking off.
Yeah, just don't get shot.
last time.
If you guys do die, you have unlimited lives. So if you die, just take your position in
Wait,
the
so
rear.
I should go... What cuz you read then? That one or that one?
Either one. I would say just everybody go double check real quick while we're waiting on Chomps.
Can't hurt much. Hey, Memphis loaded
User
back
joined
in.
your channel.
Welcome back, Memphis.
Not much. Just had I guess, an internet outage.
Oof, that sucks.
Yeah, happy it got resolved quickly though.
So I believe that we're at the PvP stage. Is that what you said, Flip?
Yep.
Hi.
And something else I'll say is if any of you guys have like questions that didn't get answered because they were a little bit more like tactics based, we can always link up after the blue phase is over and kind of talk about it. Talk about the why maybe we don't do this or why we would do that, stuff like that. But like I said, the big thing's just getting comms down and understanding separation of different maneuvers.
I think I just threw my gun through the floor. Well, I guess it's getting in more than one.
I suppose this might be a more advanced question, but is there any orders? So the P4 has automatic single fire and burst. Is there any kind of orders, or is it personal discretion for using?
So that is broken down in red phase. I will kind of tell you a little bit here. We pretty much never use anything but single fire and automatic. Reason being is Automatic in a bunker is going to be better for you. Anytime you're doing CQB stuff, you should be on automatic. If you're out in the open and you're on a patrol, you're always going to be on single shot. You're just more accurate with single shot. When you're in a bunker, your encounters are probably going to be at the most 10 to 15 meters away. With automatic, you can pretty much get all your rounds onto the point target. Does that answer your question?
Pretty much, yeah.
Red phase, we break it down a little bit when we're doing different maneuvers. There's fire control orders. So when we're covering as a fire team and another fire team's moving, I'll have you guys maybe you'll be in single shot, but I might have you ramp up the amount that you pull the trigger. I might have you slow down how much you're pulling the trigger. Have you shift fire left or right or up or down or any which way, things like that. But the general rule for me is if you're outside and you're engaging at a distance greater than, say, like 30 meters, you should be on single shot.
All right, thanks.
Chomps, let me know whenever you start taking it down.
Roger. I'm just trying to get my card to show up here.
You're good, no worries.
Blood, can you send Memphis a party invite when you get a chance?
Yeah. Just sent it.
Hopefully this won't take too long.
Crypto key inserted. Hacking has begun.
Okay, so keep an eye out for the counter mission.
Accepted the counter mission.
Cool. Chomps, as soon as you take that down, we're going to start. So just make your way back and you'll slot in at the rear.
Roger.
So if you guys want to, let's see, we got 3 on the right, 3 on the left. Cool. So if you guys want to get in your positions.
So we're doing 2 3-man teams?
Yeah, for now. I'll slot into Delta on the right. That way it'll be 2 teams of 4.
One up on you, everyone.
Just say kudos to you, Blood. You've been doing a good job. Excellent
Thanks,
training,
buddy.
man. Smell terrific.
Even with your tiny nipples.
Wasn't that Flamecrest stuff? Not Blood?
Yes.
Every
There's
So
3 bars
else-
in.
Blood has beautiful nipples.
We'll get the 4th and 5th bars here shortly, and then disconnect it.
I will say I took all of the network intrusion missions just in case someone
Thank you,
wants
Mulligan.
to do that.
I'd like to say that playing Hell Let Loose and getting yelled at by Tycho for not using correct comms a lot made this a lot easier.
Oh yeah, 100%, right?
Yeah,
Like, I
especially when you
remember
don't know
doing
the
this.
comms.
Yeah, he's like, no, it's like this. I haven't done blue. Leave me alone.
I got explained stacking by Blood because he's like, stack up on me, Chops, and I was like, okay, and I did a split stack, and he's like, and they were like, that's not stacking. I was like, oh shit, and he's like, no, that'll work too. We're split stack, that's fine. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
I actually did red first, so I've got an
Last bar halfway through.
interesting look at this.
1 sec, guys. I got to take a work call. 2 seconds.
I almost went
Got,
to Outlaw Red before
25
Blue,
seconds.
and I was reading through the document, and I just said, no, I need to do Blue first. This is too much. Outlaw does some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we had
kind
some
of
fun.
weird.
I've been like all of Outlaw Red and Blue like 4 or 5 times now, I think.
Alright, comm link down.
Mission timer is at 4 minutes 50 seconds. Mark.
Comm
All
link
right,
down,
comm
Blood.
link's down. Charlie, you guys are going to breach.
Which side is Charlie? Again?
Charlie is left, Delta is right.
Copy.
4-7, you're terminating.
Means your gun's bugged. You have like one hand on the gun.
Damn it. Tried to switch
So
it
just
so
hold
many
R to
times.
put your weapon away and then bring it back out with number 2.
Is it still terminating?
Yep.
Damn it.
Sweet. All right, stack up, guys. Charlie will breach. Go ahead and call it when you're halfway down and initiate upon landing. We are H hour, so that means everything is hot. People will try to kill you.
That is the door on again.
Sending it.
One up on me.
One up on you, 7-1.
Call your breach. To you, Mulligan.
Charlie for breach.
Set.
Breach.
Fusion sneak up to that threshold right there. Sneck falling behind Fusion.
Right clear.
Left clear.
What up on you?
What do you guys see?
Complex room front.
Cool. Forwardmost pair, I want you guys to cover. Rearmost pair will be Fusion and Sneck. I want you guys to move. You guys are going to bound to the right.
Charlie covering.
Moving.
7-1 and 4-4. If you want to step off, I'll send the elevator back up for chomps.
Also, Memphis. is
Contact front.
7-1 moving.
One enemy to the left of the complex room.
Engage that target.
Deep.
Call covering whenever you feel it's safe to have the next pair move.
Moving left, correct?
We are moving right. So Sneck, at this point, even though you're in contact, I'd get your next pair moving.
Copy. Covering. Be aware. Contact left.
So 7-1 and 4-4, you guys are the last two.
Moving.
Oh, Mulligan's moving, so 4-4, just join him. Or 7-1's got it, never mind.
Covering.
Last pair move.
Moving.
Moving.
Grenade.
Bad grenade. Good to go.
Covering.
Fusion, you've got a contact shooting at you. You need to shoot back at it.
I have no visual.
Covering.
Get a
Elevator
visual,
comes
shoot
down.
back at it.
Threshold right.
Last pair. Last pair, you're going to move forward and breach that room on the right. That's Sneck and Fusion.
Copy. Alright, moving.
.49 in Memphis, take up that crate right there where 49 is. Suppress that target that's shooting at you guys.
Say again, where are we breaching?
You're breaching the room that's to the right of the foremost pair.
Copy. Preparing to breach.
Even if you guys can't quite see the target, you need to suppress it so that your team can move, so just shoot at it.
Blood advised, target
Set.
mission available.
Breaching.
Say again?
Mission available for ECN network intrusion.
Okay, go ahead and take it if you can.
I will not be able to take it again.
I will take it then.
Left clear.
Right clear.
Room clear.
No exits.
No exit.
2 friendlies moving out.
2 friendlies that just cleared that room. I want you to cover. Sorry, I want you to move.
Difficult, say again.
The people that just reached that room, you guys start covering. Rearmost pair bound through them.
That's me and Memphis, right?
Yep.
Right, Memphis, moving.
Moving.
Prepare to breach.
Fusion and last man.
Nope, you guys aren't breaching. You're bounding. That room's already clear.
I thought you called breach again. Okay, never
No,
mind.
I might have. I'm tired.
Moving.
Sorry.
Covering.
So 4-7 infusion. You guys heard covering. You're the last pair.
Moving. Has room right had been cleared?
A firm.
You're bounding forward.
Stairway down scene, off to the right.
Remember to watch your guys' rear guard.
Recommend breaching.
All right. Foremost pair, go ahead and breach down.
Covering.
So Mulligan and Fusion, you guys are the foremost pair. Go ahead and breach that threshold.
Set. Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching. Left clear. Room bends off to the right. Left clear. Eventual complex room. Front, nothing seen after that.
Rearmost pair, move forward and breach that next threshold.
Moving.
Rear guard.
6-3, taking the rear.
Taking fire. 3-1 down.
You guys got a contact rear?
Contact
no
rear.
idea.
Okay. Suppress that enemy.
Snack is down, contact
Prepare for
rear.
breach.
No
Set.
whisper target found.
Prepare for breach.
Set.
Breaching.
Fusion, if you want to move up to where they were sitting.
Contacts on
Negative
the
Fusion, hold where you're
on the
at.
barrels in front.
Left side clear.
Right clear. Threshold front. Complex room.
All right, you guys are going to bound by fire team pairs to the left. Foremost pair to cover, rearmost pair to move.
Got it. Covering.
Rear pair, break contact and get down there with your guys.
Moving.
4-4 man down.
Fusion and 4-7, you guys are rear guard. Same with you out 4-9.
Roger.
So we've got enemy behind, enemy in front. What's the call to action?
We're going to hold here for a minute. We still have a contact rear, so I want my rear guys to ambush that contact.
What would you like me to do? Because I'm going to be coming up behind them in just a second.
Feel free to engage them.
Copy.
Alright. It's quiet for now. Contact rear.
Contact. Contact front. Top stairs.
Top
Mag.
floor, be advised, 3-1 is re-entering the AO through the elevator.
Target down.
Contact down.
Contact down.
Second contact.
Bed pen.
Contact down.
Alright. Foremost pair cover, rearmost pair bound left.
Covering.
Re-entering. Friendly.
So for the re-entry, would that be Amsnek and 49 or?
Just make the call. If you guys are last pair, just take off.
Moving.
3-1 rear guard.
Four 9 rear guard.
Covering.
Slight room scene will investigate. Clear.
Elevator
Still bounding?
coming down.
Negative. M set.
Are we still bounding? Or what are we doing? I can't see. Remember, guys.
Yeah, we're bounding. We
Cool.
bounded into the room left.
Somebody call covering. We need to keep moving.
Yep, I call covering, and Mulgan cleared left. So next pair up.
We are bounding left.
I didn't hear a moving from anybody.
I didn't either.
I said moving. Sorry.
Cool.
Went
Oh,
through
you're good.
covering.
Moving.
So Landschnecht, you'll just pop in the rear and take rear guard, and then same with you, Memphis.
Back there.
Covering. Threshold front.
Cool. All right, threshold front. I want my rearmost pair to move forward and breach that threshold. That'll be Memphis
on me.
and Landschnecht.
On you.
One up on me.
Your rear guard.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Are we shooting at the guy with the flare? I don't know
Breaching.
who this is.
Flare guy is me. Please don't shoot me.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't have party markers, so I wasn't sure if it was Sky.
Right side clear.
Left side clear. Entryway. Second room.
Next pair, breach that next room.
Moving.
Moving.
So Landsknecht
Third,
and Memphis, you've cleared 2 separate rooms just now, but we'll just roll with it.
So you want the rear guard to move, or?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Always
Okay,
the
yeah.
last
that was
pair
my-
moves forward.
That was my bad call. I didn't see you guys back there.
Rear guard.
Prepare to breach.
Right side clear.
Wrong room. Mulgan. Next room.
Oh shit.
Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching. Complex room. Recommend individual bounding.
Go ahead, knock it out.
I'll cover.
Copy.
Whoever else is in rear guard, be advised your gun's hitting the wall.
Moving.
Covering.
Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Moving. Covering.
Contact rear.
Moving.
Contact top.
Covering.
Moving. Room clear.
Just moving to cover.
No exit. Two to exit. Two friendly to exit.
Copy that. We have a contact rear, so rearmost team, you are now the foremost team. That would be Snake Fusion and Trident. You guys are now the front team. We're going to clear our way back out to the elevator.
They have the high ground. I think that would be a good
Man
idea.
down.
But
Amsnek and Fusion, I want you to cover where you're at. Rearmost team in the server room, I want you to bound forward through them the way that we came.
Roger.
spotted rear
Moving.
level.
Contact C.
I just got
who I just
shot by
I
a
hope that wasn't
predator.
friendly. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I just got shot by. That was blue on blue.
Oh, I just saw a freaking pit like after the fact.
I saw someone like run through you.
Yeah, I don't know what just happened there.
That's
Apologies
alright.
if I shot you.
It happens. So foremost team, call covering. Rearmost team, move.
Covering.
Moving.
Okay, both of my remaining med pens failed to work.
Mulligan, your rear guard.
Copy.
Right clear. Stairway up.
Friendly
Cover.
coming down the elevator.
4-9 man down.
Covering.
Moving.
Last pair, move.
Snipe your last rear guard.
Threshold front.
3-1 rear guard.
Alright, last pair, I want you to breach and clear that threshold up.
Moving up.
One
Next,
friendly
since you're on
upstairs.
your own, just tell somebody to come with you.
Memphis, you with me. Preparing to breach.
One level up.
Alright, breach. Yeah, breach.
Friendly coming in.
Alright, 7-1 if you want to
Complex
just
room
chill there.
above. Recommend bounding.
Copy that. Foremost pair you're going to cover. Rearmost pair you're going to bound to the right.
Covering.
4-4 with me.
Number to call moving.
Moving.
Two friendlies coming off the elevator.
Covering.
Moving. Snipe your rear guard.
Copy 3-1 rear guard.
I'm one up on you, man.
Covering.
Moving. Excuse me, go on. I was just gonna
Sorry,
say,
buddy.
never mind.
I'm trying to move for you.
That's okay.
Covering.
So what do you guys see now? You going into a room that you could probably breach?
Yep.
Cool.
A-firm, we're at the elevator room.
Cool, at that point I would say threshold front.
Threshold
Rearmost
front.
pair,
Grenade!
Watch out, grenade.
go ahead and breach that room.
Hand down.
Last pair, breach that room.
Moving. Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching. Man down.
Contact down. I just got shot in the back. And down.
4-7, move up to the crates to the right of Landsknecht. You're gonna hold that position. Suppress the enemy. 7-1 and 4-9, I want you to push into that room and take up cover on the right side of that
about
room.
to bleed to death.
Pushing up, taking cover on right side.
Man down. Man down.
Need to grab my pistol.
All right, last pair breach into that elevator.
Two friendly
4-7
coming down on
and
elevator.
Landsknecht.
Say again.
So Landsknecht and 4-7, you guys are the last pair. When that elevator lands, I want you to breach into the elevator. Memphis and Fusion Core just come back to the rear like you didn't even die.
Are they wearing different equipment than a standard uniform? Because it's irritating me not having any party markers. I can never tell who's friendly and who's not.
I'm not even sure, to be honest. Probably not.
Prepare to breach.
They're not.
Set.
Breaching. Left side clear.
Right side clear.
Everybody get on the elevator.
Elevator clear.
Is this a bad guy? Who is that?
Yeah,
one
it
of us
is.
next to the elevator?
Everybody with us right now is a good guy. If you're not
I'm
dead,
with you, though.
you're probably a good guy.
If we're dead, we should probably just hang out and let them come out.
Yeah, just if you're dead, that's your last respawn at this point. Alright, stack up on the elevator. We're gonna breach our way out of the bunker.
User joined your channel.
Fusion, if that's your pig, you're dead for good. Leave.
Say again.
Fusion's down here with us.
Right, who is this Trident member?
Oh,
M-
see, they're
M
not.
snack.
God damn it! I knew they weren't friendly.
Yeah.
Don't shoot me. I'll just go outside.
Yeah.
User left your channel.
Landsknecht and 7-1, you guys are gonna breach out. The rest of you get in positions and get in cover positions. One-ups and all that good stuff.
One up on me.
Prepare to breach.
Prepare to breach. Set.
Set.
Contact down.
Go ahead and continue with your breach.
Put a door
Call
to
it
the
out.
front to the outside.
Yep, call your breach.
Prepare to breach.
Contact down.
Who's breaching with Landsknecht?
4-7.
He called call the breach.
Breaching.
I saw
Breaching.
an enemy and I called contact on it.
Left clear.
Right clear.
Door to the exterior.
Copy that. Rearmost pair, I want you to breach out of the door. You're not going to run far. You're going to breach out and take up firing arcs to the left and the right.
Moving. Prepare to breach.
Set.
Breaching. Cover.
All right. We'll call index there.
Good, because
Cool.
I'm on my last mag.
Yeah. So at this
I ran
point,
out of
guys,
mags.
we
got-
just ran through a contact. We would have a contact report that would get sent off to Tycho. We would then do an ARD. We would do a popper so check where we would check your ammo and stuff, and we would wait for orders. Cool. So let's flip it over to Sky Breach. Feedback. How did you feel that went as Op 4?
Okay, so you've assault down, guys. That was pretty disappointing as it goes. In general, really disappointing. When we first contacted you, there was no suppression whatsoever on me firing at you. Didn't actually shoot to kill anyone, but still, if you're getting shot at, that suppression needs to be instant, even if you're just shooting into likely enemy positions. Right? I think you killed Rocknat quite well on when he was moving down, when you guys were moving down. But then when we were coming for a rear contact, there was pretty much no rear guard until we started shooting. I know for a fact from the other side where the two of your friendlies before where you could see was moving. If we want a shot at you, you want a shot back. I was easily able to move along the right hand side. One person was just sort of completely out in the open, took a couple of shots at them, they went down. Another person completely out in the open, took a shot, couple down. Most of the shots we were doing, guys, were not center of mass, they were leg shots if you were doing something wrong, or around you to show you there's someone there that you should probably have shot by now. Then we noticed that those two people were completely separated from the fire team, from the actual rest of the squad. They were pretty much completely separated. They were a good 15 meters away, at least 2 tactical bounds away from you guys that were on the bottom of the stairs. I don't know if that's because the people on the bottom that were meant to be on the top floor retreated to the bottom stairs. If that's the case, that's fine. But if it wasn't the case, make sure to go to the next piece of cover and always pull from the back, because they were way too stranded. We then realized we'd done enough damage to you guys. We tried to attack you. Your rear guard was on point then after you realized you got shot. Come down for a second time, which is when you were downstairs. No one was in cover. I was easily able to run up to you guys with a knife without taking too much damage, to the point where none of you could see anything. You weren't in cover. We could shoot you pretty effectively from the top. No one was watching the top. Remember, if you can be seen from the top, you need to be watching that area. We then, when you guys had realized that, you started moving into cover, but it was a bit too late. We got a couple of you down by that point. If in future that happens in a Gulf phase or in an FTX, the enemy won't be so easy on you. They will just either grenade launcher it, which will take every single person out, because in that cubby hole that I ran into tonight, there was at least 4 of you, completely out of cover. Just not how it's meant to be. The point of bounding maneuver is moving to a cover, and then when we say cover, we literally mean cover. Hard cover if you can, if not, take the most coverable position. Then, third time, you guys had moved back. Most of your defense was a lot better. It was much better. We felt a bit more pressured on. Apart from that one person that was sat looking the complete opposite way to where the enemy could come from, and he was a front person for at least 2 or 3 seconds, because I stood there for 2 or 3 seconds. So he went down. Rockneck went down pretty easily at that time, because again, your defense and your front defense was a lot better. It was a lot more vicious. And then when you guys came up the elevator, much better. You cleared your corners. You saw me before I could even fire on you. That shit was good. Okay? In general, guys, when we say cover and maneuver, it literally means you can't go covering until you're in a good piece of cover. It's the next good piece of cover. And make sure your rear guard's on. Don't think it's failable, because it's just something to get used to, but I would recommend that each one of you that was in the Blue Force tonight would attend another one of these sessions if you can before you go on to do your goal. Obviously, it's not a required thing if you get your ticks, but it does help you practice, and those are just kinks you'll iron out eventually. So that's it from me.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. When I was kind of watching you guys do your thing, I noticed that a couple of you kind of threw the idea of cover to the wind and started kind of twitching and moving left and right like it was Call of Duty or something. That does not work in this game. You can't dodge shit in this game like you can in other games and bunny hop and stuff like that. It's just too clunky for that. Just remember, when you're covering and moving, there's a reason you're covering before you're moving, things like that, and you're not effective as a fighting force if you're just standing out in the open like Rambo. It's a little hard to get that ingrained in your head because it's a video game. There's no sense of self safety and security in that. But especially with Death of a Spaceman coming, you're gonna care way more about whether you're in cover or not. So that's something that you guys are just gonna have to kind of learn as time goes along. I noticed that the comms towards the end of the dry run started